All right. There's someone who I swear to God is like named Streaming Ping or something, because every time I try to type Streaming Ping, they come up. And I almost ping them individually instead of Streaming Ping. Hi CJ, hi Mika. Ooh, you picked Eclipse up. Alright, going from the 10th. We're gonna be here for a while. grab a drink, a snack. Grab it all. Okay, let's see here. It's cold. I'm gonna put this. Ah! Just pulled the blanket like over top of my head. It is chilly. You all ready for a nice long Lore Tuesday? Cause I am. You pulled Zinnia. Was that after an eclipse? Oh my god, it was? Z-Clipse Canon? Also, I don't know if this music is to- Oh my god! Z-Clipse Canon. We're just pulling Eclipse and Zinnias. It's too late though, guys. I hate to break it to you, Eclipse is dead. Very dead. It cannot be canon. Oh my god! We're pulling so many- What does this mean? Spoilers! 4 Eclipses and 1 Zinnia. That has to mean something. Eclipse comes back to life. If this is an Eclipse again, I'm bringing her back to life. This stream. Oh, it's Crown. Okul can just revive her. Oh wait, never mind! Oh, that's funny. Oh my god, again. We're getting so many repeats. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get into things, because I don't want to be here forever. I'm gonna adjust my camera a little bit, because I feel like it's really dark. Give me a second. Let me just maybe take back the contrast a little bit. White balance maybe could be... No, I don't want automatic. Okay, I'm a little less orange. Okay. I feel like that's a little better. I just wanted it, like, you know, you can actually see me. Ads. It is very dark in here. I need to get, like, a ring light or something. But I'm lazy. And I just have a lamp in the corner. Plus, like, I have my lamp on most of the day, but sometimes I get headaches from, like, too much, like, screen brightness, so I have to turn it off. I like it dark. Alright. From Nora, the first entry. It's a little short. Sorry about that. Oh, I just realized I need to turn on streamer mode again. Sorry, guys. Okay. This takes place way before my character makes it to Solace. Okay. Ah! Sorry. Forgot to, yeah. XX years ago, day 1. I found an old empty diary in Mama's bedroom. She said it was going to be a gift for me for my birthday, but she gave it to me now. The kingdom isn't doing so well. The new king and queen are odd to say the least. The market is more expensive than ever. Castle staff keep going missing as well. Mama's illness hasn't gone away either, and we need to make herbs. We need the herbs to make potions, but it's just too damn expensive. I never wanted to steal. Mama raised us all of us in the orphanage not to, that it was wrong and not worth it, but I had to do it. Luckily, nobody saw me. I hated it, but it had to be done. But still, the medicine isn't working. She's still struggling to stand, still having those god's-awful coughing fits, her skin becoming paler by the day. She looks like an actual zombie, and it's scary, just like most of the townspeople. A couple of the younger ones tugged on my skirt earlier this evening after supper, and they asked me, "Will Mama ever get better?" It took me a minute to answer. The truth was, I don't know. Or I didn't know. Maybe a miracle would appear. Maybe Mama would pass on any day now. Maybe in broad daylight, maybe in her sleep. I don't know. I don't think I have a lot of hope anymore these days. I don't think anybody does. Tragic backstory. Wow, the captions went for a really long, long time there. From Light, visiting a judge. The sound of bare feet padding against stone filled the silence of the morning. Light walked alone down a familiar path, one she used to take when visiting Frog before everything. It was silent, the kind of silence that felt oppressive to the dragon. She paused for a moment and turned to stare back towards the statue of remembrance. It had been built to remember the dead, namely those who were taken in the Great Anomaly. Now, Light thought of it as a symbol for everyone who had died on Solace as well, even Marcello. The lady looked down at her feet, her wings tucking closer to her face. She felt guilt for being unable to do more to help the captain, though she knew there wasn't much she could do then. Not when everyone finally got to him. He was gone by the time she and the others arrived there. Even his soul was gone, likely already passed on. Light sighed and pulled herself from her thoughts. She took a deep breath, taking a moment to ground herself to the present. The dragon looked down at the pot of homemade ramen she had made for Dante and Mira. She turned back towards the path and continued to walk towards Mira's house. Her ears twitched as she walked on to the spruce bridge that took her over the river. She paused for a moment to look towards the Lilac Expedition's cave. The dragon wondered how Cam was doing. Maybe she should pay him a visit at some point. Light knew he used to frequent the bar with her dad and Marcello. With a soft sigh, she turned away and continued to walk down the path. The dragon passed buildings, the branching path towards the other parts of the area, and soon came to a crossroad. She took the path to the right and walked until she passed through a white fence. She looked up at the build Mira called her home for a moment, then she walked onto the porch. She took a deep breath and tucked the pot of ramen under her arm and knocked on the door. Light took a step back and waited for the door to open. She hoped that Mira was home. It was a man who opened the door, Dante, by Light's guess. He seemed grumpy about the unannounced visit. I wanted to check in on Mira, the dragon said quickly, and I brought homemade ramen for the trouble. She adjusted her grip on the pot she held, letting Dante lift the lid to see the contents. Finally, he nodded, a bit more hospitable now that he knew her motives for the visit. He stepped inside and allowed Light to enter. The dragon stepped inside and looked around. She spotted Mira on the other side of the house, sitting at a dining table. She felt a mix of worry, guilt, and pity when she saw the young lady. Light took a sharp breath and walked over. She walked into the kitchen and placed the pot of ramen on the stove. She turned to the judge and saw that Mira was looking. The dragon could read the judge like a book. The anger, sadness, wariness, and so many more emotions were like a storm raging across Mira's face. Light chose not to speak of the emotions she saw as she walked over to Mira. She could tell that the judge expected an "I told you so" from her, especially after what the dragon had said about holding a flower festival. "I'm sorry," she said softly, "for your loss." Mira blinked as if surprised by what she had said. Light continued to speak before she could speak up. "I know sorry or any kind of words will not bring Marcello back, nor heal the wound that now festers in your heart. I know you're mourning, hurting in a way I may not understand. If you ever need someone to talk about it or simply need someone to support you during this time of pain, you are more than welcome to contact me at any time. I'll do my best to be there for you." Light watched as Mira gave her a wary look, but seemed to accept her words. The dragon walked a bit closer and wrapped her wing around Mira to offer a bit of comfort. It was a loose, almost half-hug. "I won't take up more of your time. Take care of yourself, eat something. I made you and Dante some homemade ramen. I hope you both enjoy it," she said softly. Light folded her wing back and turned away from Mira. She offered Dante a small smile, then left the house. She paused behind the closed front door and murmured a soft blessing for healing. The dragon could tell Mira needed time to heal and people to support her. She could only hope that the judge finds that comfort in her fiancé and friends as she walks away. It's going to be very interesting watching Mira versus Freya's grieving processes. Because Mira, I mean, she's not human, but she's, been around people who have to witness death and grief and, learn coping mechanisms. Freya never learned. No one was there to teach her. So it's going to be really messy. I mean, grief is messy anyway, but a couple months ago, we had an SMP fanfiction randomizer contest. I got comment on Marcello and the tag was doomed. At Freya's request, I'm posting it here for maximum damage. Yeah, this is rough. Get ready. Comet saw a lot of King in Marcello. They both had power, one over an empire, the other over an entire navy ship. They were both prideful and had a bit of an ego. They both had their secrets, ones that they never tell anyone else. They both took the souls and molded and shaped them into a human. They both saw indescribable horrors and reached out a hand. The difference was that Marcello still had a chance. His fate had not been sealed. It was still possible for him to have a happy ending. Comet saw a lot of themselves in Freya. Well, who they used to be. Freya was happy, stable, not haunted by the past, together with the one who taught her how to be a human. She was naive. She believed that there was good in everyone and that the good would last. Comet had been like that once, happy, in love with the wonders of the world, waking up every day with a happy glint in their eyes, enchanted with life. The joy had left them eons ago. Both of their lifespans were long. It made Comet sick to know what will happen. There's no way to avoid it. Freya and Marcello were cute together, and Comet looked on with a form of bittersweetness and longing, watching the pure love blossom. Freya, although naive, was good. She wasn't anything like Comet. She didn't have blood on her hands. She didn't have the stomach-rotting pure and disgusting guilt that lived forever inside Comet. She wasn't guilty for just existing. She had hope. Comet had hope for her, too. If Comet and King didn't get a happy ending, they hoped that Freya and Marcello would. But at the end of the day, it was impossible for that to happen. Ultimately, Freya would outlive Marcello, and one day Freya would carry that same grief as Comet. Their other half would pass on, and they would be left to deal with the aftermath, a tale as old as time. At least Comet didn't know that they couldn't die until they were denied the pleasure of dying with their empire and for their king. Freya knew, and yet she still chose to love. She was not afraid of getting hurt, although ultimately it would happen. Comet was jealous. How selfish, how egotistical for those two to be mortal. They would have the pleasure of having their loves be the last thing on their mind when they leave this realm, and their others would be left with that never-ending thought of what could have been, what would have happened if circumstances had been different. There is a special bond for one to teach another how to exist, how to be human, how to feel, to show unyielding kindness and patience to one learning how to be. When one is taught the wonders of the world by another, it is something special, something you can never get anywhere else, and alas, it is something that is very rare. When the day comes that Marcello passes on and Freya is left to gather the pieces, Comet hopes that they could provide her respite. While their dear is long gone and beyond saving, it is not the same for the two lovers. Comet only hopes that they can cherish each other while it lasts. Yeah. Yeah. And when I read that the first time, this was before the staff knew. We were doing like a randomizer thing. I had to pretend that I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, oh, that's so sad. Yeah, you're right. Eventually Marcello will die of old age. Alright. John Angler. Tab 3. Violence, death, torture, blood. Oh my god. 12 years. It took 12 long years for this war to end. In the beginning, it was just holding my hometown's border, making sure we didn't get conquered. But the dukes, who had been fighting so long for the same land, came to the conclusion that if they wanted my homeland, they would have to take it together. Me and the residents of the area didn't have much. We took what we could find and made them into armor. I took a trench coat and attached iron pauldrons on the shoulders and plates inside the front and back of the vest I wore under. It got us by. I got better with magic due to constantly using it. With the nasty injuries we were piling up, the situation led me to finding a way to heal wounds by imbuing water with healing properties. I was able to hold off small infantry with the magic I had learned thus far. In the early years of the war, the bombardment of cannon fire from ships at sea made it hard to hold ground, so I practiced pulling and pushing the ocean by the docks, and 5 years into the war I managed to capsize the small fleets they would send. But fighting hundreds of soldiers on land at once was not something I would be able to do consistently. This situation led me to making an unlikely ally, the Beast Folk. Their state neighbored Boven, northwest of our territory. With the alliance, our efforts advanced beyond our borders and managed to push them back to their capitals, leading to overthrowing the two dukes and ending the war. With the war ended, I went to say my goodbyes to the Beast Folk. I was in a large wooden home, and before me stood a giant figure, a bear that was standing on 2 legs. We were in the discussion of giving the war a name to remember it by. We agreed on the Greed War. Remind me to never get in a war against you, Tide Turner, the nickname given to me for my ability to control water and how I could change the outcome of a battle. I preferably would not like to not be in another war, but you never know what the next thing people will be fighting over. The chief let out a laugh. Once he was finished, he looked over to me. So what will you do now that this is over? Return back to Kareth and resume my magic lessons with my mentor. Well, whoever they are, they have our thanks. This war would have been more bloody if it weren't for your tactics, mimicking ocean waves on land, overwhelming the enemy and pushing them back. I nodded. It was time to take my leave. I shook his hand and we both walked out together. The moment the chief opened the door and the cold wind hit me and sent me backwards a few steps. I regained balance and walked outside, now shivering. Sorry. Tall spruce trees surrounded me, the ground covered with inches of snow. The trench coat was designed with cold weather in mind, but how the heck do you bastards live in such conditions? The chief grinned and patted his fur. I made it back to Bobbin and walked down to the docks to board the hippocampus once again. What would have been a 3-month voyage became 12 days. I used the ocean waves to push my vessel faster. Now in Kareth and on my way back to the Tolan Forest, I found the flower Pandora asked me to give her along the way, placing it in a pot. I wonder how she's been since we've last met. I stand at the entrance of the Tolan Forest. The fauna had grown strongly during my absence. I enter. I start thinking to myself, perhaps she will allow me to accompany her past the arrow. I walk through the bush and find the clearing of where my campsite once was. The log I had used to sit near the campfire had moss growing on it, insects crawling all over it, claiming it as their home. The scent of burnt wood found its way to me. I looked at the campfire. The stones I had placed were still there, surrounding where a fire would be, but there was only sand, no ash, no wood. No fire had been lit in years. I tried to determine where the scent came from and found myself facing the direction of where the arrow lodged in the tree. I looked around the clearing. Pandora? Quiet. I call out to her again. Nothing. I start walking towards the direction of the arrow lodged in the tree. The smell was coming from this direction. I slowly move past the arrow and look around. Minutes pass and nothing happens. I start running, passing hundreds of trees. I see sunlight break through the trees ahead, trees that were charred. I step forward. Trees and debris of what might belong to houses are scattered around. This must have been the village of the High Elves. Everything burned almost to ash. Then a new smell presented itself, one I knew too well because of war. Bodies. I dashed forward without hesitation. I lifted every debris I could find in hopes that Pandora or that someone survived. I made my way to the edge of the village. There was a building that had collapsed and was less charred than the other buildings. There were books on the floor inside, some intact, some with only a few pages remaining. The building was surrounded by craters, signs of a battle. I look around. She can't be dead. She can't be dead. She can't. I looked down into the biggest crater. There was no mistaking her, what was left. I carried her out and walked towards the fallen library. I placed her down in front of the building and put my trench coat over her. Tears found their way down my face. I heard footsteps approach me, hooves. I turned around. It was the same deer from before, this time accompanied by its kin and partner. They gently walked over and sniffed where Pandora rested. I could see tears swelled and dripped from its eyes. The deer turned its head towards me. Can you please watch over her until I come back? The deer slowly lowered its head. I stand up and move to find the road back to the nearby town. I will find out what happened. I headed straight for the Merchants Guild building and entered. I walked past the people sitting at tables and walked up to the reception desk. A woman looked up from the parchment she was writing on. I recognized her. It was the same merchant from 12 years ago, but much older. She froze when she saw me, her face going from frustrated to lukewarm to grief. So she was right. You really don't age. My breathing was shaking. I took a deep breath in an attempt to regain my composure. What happened to the High Elves? She closed her eyes, tears trailing from them. The guild would charge you for that information, but since you were her student and friend, I'll tell you. She took a deep breath. About a week ago, we got reports that a dragon with red scales flew over the town and went into the direction of the High Elves' village. A few hours later, a loud roar could be heard, followed by the ground nearby trembling like an earthquake periodically. It became quiet after 2 hours. Then the same dragon was spotted flying away. Why did the attack happen? We don't know. My hand clenched into a fist, shaking. Where does it live? She looked at me with concern. I stared and refused to blink until she would give me the answer. The mountains northwest of Kareth. I turned around and stormed out of the building. John, wait! It took me a day to reach the mountains. I hadn't slept in the past 43 hours, but I don't care. I scan until I see what looks to be a cave entrance. I climb up the mountain. Every step, every pull is accompanied by the ache of my muscles. I stand before the entrance of the cave and move forth. As I descended further, the more the cave became narrow until I saw a light in the distance. I moved closer and passed through an opening. The room was a large cavern, the walls lined with huge torches that lit the area. At the end of the room was a large pile of golden coins with various jewels, surrounding a golden throne with someone slouching in it. I walked over and was standing about a meter from the figure. I thought it was a human, but then I noticed the horns sticking out from their white hair, a tail with red scales wrapped around the left armrest. The figure looked up. His eyes were reptilian-like, yellow with black pupils, and around the eyes was a pattern of red scales. He took a bite of the meat he was eating. "Who the hell are you?" His voice was lousy and unbothered. I looked at him, focused. I breathed in and calmly asked. "A week ago, there was a dragon that flew towards the northeast forest and killed the high elves that lived there. Was that you?" I waited with bated breath. He slowly tilted his head back and stared at the ceiling. He then scoffed. "Oh, those ungrateful lowlives." My right eye twitched. "What?" The dragon paused from eating his meal. "I'm a divine and powerful being. When I descended from the sky, I expect to be welcomed with a feast and praise wherever I go. Those ungrateful lot were unwelcoming and asked me to leave, so I did what I had the right to do. I burned them all." He took a sip from a silver cup. When he finished, he scoffed again. His eyes rolled as if he remembered something. "I will say, there was this bitch with orange hair who put up some fight." He raised his left arm. Half of it was missing. "Her magic sure was something." He adjusted himself to sit upright and smirked. "I have to say, it was amusing to hear her last words before I killed her. Something about being at peace, that their history will not be lost. What a waste of final words." My breaths were shallow and broken. He raised his goblet, and I conjured a sphere of water, flicked it with my finger, and shot it at the goblet. It hit and flung it out of his hand, spilling the contents onto the dragon. I shot a larger sphere, aiming at his face, the impact knocking him backwards in his throne. The dragon jumped up and rubbed his forehead, and then looked at me with daggers in his eyes. He sneered. "Ah, same magic. So she was someone to you. Then I shall grant you the same fate as her." The figure before me began to slowly morph and transform. No longer were they humanoid, now a giant dragon. My vision pulsed as I looked up at the dragon. The dragon opened its mouth, a blazing fire forming. An odd sensation overtook me. The rising heat no longer bothered me. I looked at the dragon. I could sense something beneath the scales, flowing. Blood. "Bro's gonna become a bloodbender!" My right hand slowly stretched outwards to the dragon. My hand no longer shook. It was absolutely still. My fingers wrapped around the flow and grasped it. The dragon recoiled and quickly transformed back into its humanoid form, now lying on the floor of the cavern still. I stepped towards him. My time taken. Another step. The promise unfulfilled. I stood in front of the dragon and leaned down to look him in the face. The eyes that were once full of arrogance now replaced with horror, followed by tears. I leaned in closer. I stared at him in the eyes. "I will make sure I'm the last." There was a figure in his eyes, staring back at me. I looked deeper. The figure was unrecognizable. The figure had a fire in his eyes, one that was blazing and ready to burn everything around it, and they were looking at me. I began to shake uncontrollably. The fire in the figure's eyes flashed towards me, and I jumped back. I got up and blinked repeatedly. I could feel my eyes bloodshot. I was taking long breaths. I looked over to the dragon. He was staring back at me, mortified. I stood up and slowly walked over to him once again. He scrambled away until he was back against the wall of the cavern. I was face to face with the dragon. "You will follow me back to the elf village." He nodded his head violently. We soon arrived back at the destroyed village. I gathered the fallen and threw a shovel at the dragon's feet. "You and I will not rest until we have laid them all to rest. If you do fall asleep or give up, I will make you join them." We spent the next 2 days and nights digging their graves and fixing tombstones to them. I buried Pandora last. I would have liked to have her buried on top of a hill, but I knew that she would have wanted to be with her people. I cleaned my trench coat before putting it on. I stood before her grave. The dragon watched me with caution. He stepped back slowly until he saw no reaction from me. He took off and flew away, leaving just me and the deer here, watching her grave. The light from sunrise began to shine on her grave. She told me it was her favorite sight to see every day. I'll make sure to finish the final lesson we never had. I collapsed. I opened my eyes. The air is different. I look around and in the distance see the familiar marketplace and the statue of remembrance. I'm back on Solace. I looked at my shoulder. It was healed. I looked down to where my heart was. It too had recovered. I stood up and stumbled a little. I rose faster than I thought. I feel lighter. I'll have to check to see if anything has changed with me later. I had to find Miss Archer sometime to see what's happened since my absence and if she has read the letter I wrote. I trust that Muncher delivered it. I'll need to catch up with him too. I'll also need to speak with Captain Virgil. I've been meaning to tell him something for a while. That's convenient. But first, I need to find something to cover my right eye. What up to your right eye? Oh, an eye patch. Pirate angler. Well, there is, So I'm a little confused at, like, this... I think this is backstory? Like, was this, like, a visit to memories? Or was this, like, he was sent to a different... like... different timeline thing? Memories, okay. Week. From Mira. The sun finally started to rise. Bushes, trees, flowers shone lightly with morning dew as the sun kissed down onto them. I did not care for their beauty as Dante and I ran past them. I kept running behind Dante as he typed away in his comms device. I could see the terminal's code on the screen as we ran. I trusted him to find Dad even though he hated Dad's guts. My hand moved to my own device, seeing the logs of what I could access from his device. Voicemails, notes, anything could help. Where was he? South? No, she would have to cross the community center. East? The Pure Spirits base. My eyes turned as they looked around the forest. I couldn't hear anything aside from my breathing and my heartbeat. I couldn't feel anything aside from the painful impact of each step against my feet. Nothing aside from the biting cold hitting my face as the wind kissed it. A chime resounded as Dante logged into the admin account. He let out a sigh of relief as he started to continue working getting the location. A string of audios started to play, each one making my anxiety rise. Dad's voice became more hurt in each. Cracks, groans, whines. Weak. I felt weak as I heard the captain give in. Afraid when he started to talk because he thought I was in danger. Anger when I heard his voice break. Dante glanced my way, and then went back to typing into his device. Agonizingly slow minutes passed by before a different chime rang out. His face lit up, relief washing over him. Bingo! He turned, body blocking my path before he picked me up, gently but hurriedly. Hold tight. His voice was strong, certain as he grasped me. I felt air envelop my body as he moved us above the forest. Another sound rang out from the communicator, but I couldn't make out the words as the wind drowned them out. I could only make out what seemed to be a scream, but I couldn't worry about that for now. The coordinates led to a cave. Dante landed with a soft thud as he placed me to stand. I could only see the entrance to the bunker with a figure standing next to it. Freya! I called out at the figure as I approached. She was not there. The small, faint shadowing of her figure was disturbed. Was that blood? My steps faltered before I noticed the slight pinkish tone of it. A Nathi blood covered Freya's body. It cascaded down her side as if it spilled onto her with a bucket. She was staring at her hands. Her face was blank like the picture the captain had of their first meeting. That's crazy. But where's the captain? I looked around, seeing no signs of him sitting nearby. Did she just leave him inside? He needed medical help. His mouth knew how to make people angry with just a few words, so a few broken bones would make sense. That's crazy. Yeah, he definitely got beat up, and he probably deserved it. Go get everyone else. I glanced back at Dante. He nodded and took off again. My shoulder bumped against Freya's as I went down the uneven stairs of the bunker. I could make out the shape of a door through the cracks of light. My hands reached out and fumbled with the handle until the door gave in with a smack against the wall. Captain! My voice rang into the room, the red wall half-painted as I ran inside. My foot slipped against a puddle, body falling backwards and landing with a thump. I stood up. My hands were clean as I pushed up, but... drip. From the floor, the walls, even the ceiling smelled like vile what? The liquid clung to the wall and slid down agonizingly, slowly. Not like fresh paint. Blood. I scattered back, fumbling as my feet echoed in the room. Blood. Whose blood? No. My hip hit an object, making me stop before I turned around. His face was bruised, the purple of his eye bags now overshadowed by the marks on his cheeks. He was still in his pajamas. I could make out the splotches of blood even from my position. The familiar smell of brandy was overshadowed by the rancid smell of copper. That's crazy. Everyone, everyone's saying that Mozzarella just smells like an alcoholic. It's so funny. It's probably true. Dad. I did not care when my knees smacked against the concrete. I did not care when the blood stained my clothes. I just wanted to hold him. My body flimsily picked him up. I could feel every broken bone as he laid on my forearm. He was still warm. Dad? I raised my left hand, metal gently brushing hair away from his face. He looked like himself despite the bruises, despite the pale skin, despite his empty eyes. I bit my lip painfully, the pain of my teeth piercing into the flesh, the pain in my throat, the pain of my arm trying to hold him up. It was minuscule to the pain in my heart. No, you're going to be fine. I could feel my eyes water, my vision blurring as my tears slowly fell onto the tank top he always wore to sleep. I lowered my head, my ear pressing against his chest as broken ribs painfully pressed against my cheek. Please. I waited. You have to. I waited even as I could feel my tears soak through his shirt. But I couldn't hear his steady heartbeat. I couldn't hear his laugh. I couldn't feel him alive. My left arm snaked around his torso, hugging him, hoping that if I could just hold him enough, he would come back. That's all I wanted. I only wanted him alive. I only wanted my dad. When I let go of his body, I could only feel the cold trace he left behind. Voices surrounding me, whispering, yelling. I did not care for them as I closed my father's eyes. Comet used a cloth to cover his body, protecting him from being gawked at by the crowd. I stood up, clinging to Comet's arm for stability. My knees were wobbly, eyes blurry as they still overflowed with tears. Gone. Ringing, lights, voices. It was all overwhelming as I stepped out of the cave. I could feel their gazes, their voices, their pity. I leaned against a rock, enough to half sit on it as Comet led the group for the next steps. The people moved, using anything they could to help. Even Magos made sure to double check for vitals. I looked at my shoes, my vest, my hands, all stained with his blood. I heard gentle voices, some coming towards me, others backed away, but then there were 3 to my right. I turned my head slightly. Ladice, Grim, Feather. All of them were surrounding her, the strongest thing in this entire universe. The one thing that could have helped him, the one that looked like she was too weak to stop it. Anger. My footsteps were slow, stopping a few feet away from her. She looked almost human, almost real, but I knew she wasn't. She looked up, her expression still blank. She looked almost sorry. Her fault. The person I relied on when I first landed, the person who I thought could solve all problems, she looked lost, sad almost. She had his blood on her hands. The only thing she could do was watch. Casimir, Balios, Anima, Tarushno, Comet, Krufik, Feather, Sunny, the monastery, names, faces, deaths flashed across my mind as I continued staring at the Lumaran. This is all your fault, Freya. My words made the coward look at me. Others started to approach. Tears outlined my eyes again. Anger, frustration, fear pricked my body. You could have done something! My voice broke as I approached her. Hands gripped me, stopping me from harming her useless body. You could have done something! My lungs hurt as I pushed towards her. She stood up, the same emotionless expression on her stupid face. I could feel the anger and the fear in her body. I wanted her to feel pain, to feel how much she was hurting us. He protected all of us. I saw the coward start to levitate. People were screaming for her to come down. What did you do? I screamed, feeling the tears running down my face as she flew away. I did not care for the stares, the scoffs. They know it's true. My dad, the strongest man I knew, he was dead. Because of her. Oops. Let me do that. We have a farewell to Captain Marcello. I don't remember if this had... I looked at it. I don't remember if it had copyrighted music. We'll see. Hello? Why is my... Hold on. My YouTube button isn't working. There we go.
Sometimes people leave you.
Is this copyrighted? I guess not.
Halfway through the wood. Do not
Showing
let
the
it
blood room is
grieve
crazy.
you. No one leaves for good. You are not alone. No one is alone. No one is alone.
Farewell, Captain Marcello. Oh, 07 indeed. Did I paused the music. A tidal wave of worry. This is Light. Light sat in a booth in the dining hall with a plate of grilled fish and potatoes sitting on the table untouched. She looked like she hadn't slept since the search for Marcello, with bags under her eyes and still wearing her work scrubs. Admittedly, the dragon hadn't been back to SUNC since then, choosing instead to work. She had only had a couple of naps in between work shifts. Besides those brief downtimes, Light had been working for 5 days straight. She was exhausted and in pain, but she didn't care. She had to keep busy, to keep working. Light sighed as she leaned back against the booth. She looked down at her right hand, which held Water's comms device. He had dropped it when he had run away from the cave everyone found Freya, Marcello, and what little was left of Eclipse. She had picked it up and kept it ever since. The dragon didn't know why she hadn't just placed it where her dad could find it back at the facility, but she'd kept it with her. Maybe Light didn't want it to be lost or potentially stolen. Or perhaps she simply wanted to keep a piece of her dad with her, even if it was just his comms device. Light shook her head, realizing that she was falling back into her thoughts while her food grew cold. She picked up her fork and was just about to take a bite of potatoes when... Welcome back, Director Ian Waters. The dragon's head snapped up towards the speakers. She dropped her fork and promptly abandoned her food. She slid from the booth and scrambled out of the dining hall. Light was relieved that her dad was back home, but she was still worried. She didn't know exactly where her dad came in, but she guessed that it was the labs, so the dragon ran there. Through the halls she calls home, through the garden she had decorated for her dad, and into the lab where she worked. The dragon came to a halt just as she had entered the labs. Her guess was right. Waters was in the lab. He had been moving around, evident by the trails of water that littered the place. What had alarmed Light, however, was the fact that her dad wasn't wearing his helmet. Something had happened that caused his tank to come off his head. Was he attacked? If so, by who? Was it that strange person that she and Kron had spoken to the other day? Imagine having a father figure. Yeah. It couldn't be Freya. Freya doesn't have any parental figure at all. She's I guess maybe an orphan. Maybe all Lumeran are orphans. These questions rattled about in her mind, making her anxiety grow the more she thought about it. She was so busy with keeping herself busy that she didn't notice that her own dad was in danger. Our dad low-key looks like Bad Bunny. Is your dad Bad Bunny? Congrats to your dad doing the Super Bowl, guys. That's so exciting. Or the halftime show, not the Super Bowl itself. Can you tell your dad I'm a fan? Me too? Can I get his autograph? Alright. The dragon's hands clenched into fists. The feeling of her claws digging into her palms brought her out of her spiral. She took a sharp breath, trying to hide her anxiety and worry under a mask of calm. Dad? Light called. She had to keep herself from wincing. Her voice had come out as far smaller than she had intended. The dragon watched as Waters looked at her with a deer in headlights look for a second. Then his shoulders sagged. He wordlessly turned around and walked into the water pod. Light felt her stomach drop. Was he going to leave? Did she do something wrong? Was she not supposed to be here? Then he sat down, as if to show her that he wasn't going to run away. Light took a deep breath and sighed with relief, her ears and wings sagging. The dragon looked towards the terminal Waters was at. I feel like maybe Light is just very, like, what's the word? Like, insecure about her, like, relationship to Waters. But I feel like he's been acting weird for a long time. And she hasn't been like, this is strange, I need to, like, you know. I mean, she got some people involved, I guess. But, like, feel like Kron has had more of the appropriate reaction here of like, you're not acting right. Something's weird. And Light is like, what if he secretly hates me and doesn't want me? The dragon looked towards the terminal Waters was at. She walked over to it and saw the 3D printing stuff on the screen. It was already printing a new helmet from the looks of it. Light. Light's head snapped towards her dad, her head tilting slightly, automatically. Waters was watching her. She glanced at the screen, then back at her dad. She walked over to her desk across from the water pod. The dragon turned her chair to face Waters before she sat down. What happened? He asked after a bit of something. Light's brows furrowed. She wasn't sure what he meant. Was he asking what happened after they found Marcelo, or what happened to him? She took a deep breath and sighed, her hand digging into her pants pocket where it found Waters' comms device. She ran her fingers over it. Could you clarify what you meant by that? She asked softly. Do you mean what had happened to you, or what happened after you left? She adjusted herself in her seat, wincing as her legs moved. Light rubbed her leg, trying to loosen the tense muscles from her 5-day work stint. If Waters had meant the letter, she would have to admit the fact that she had been working for that long. Oh, ladder. She didn't want him to get worried about her when he didn't have his helmet. Waters went quiet for a while, long enough to have Light worry that she said the wrong thing. Again, this is your, like, dad. He's not judging you, don't worry. Waters has an alter ego named H2O, and I have his skin. I would if I could. He's most likely not here with us. I am your alter ego, Waters. Water bottle. What a bottle. Bottle water. Do you want to see my dad? I can send you the pic. Okay. Do you know what happened to me? He asked after a bit. Light's ears lowered slightly, her wings tucked closer to her head, fluffing up slightly. No, she said softly. You left the cave in silence. I followed because I was worried for you. You made it to a river and disappeared before I could stop you. The dragon hesitated for a moment before pulling out Waters' comms device from her pocket and showed it to him. You dropped this by the river when you had left. I kept it with me for safekeeping. Waters silently reached a hand out for it. He stared at it for a moment with a haunted expression before he placed it down onto the floor in front of the tube. I found violence. Waters barely got out that blasted clown's name before Light tensed, the iris of her left eye flashing pure gold. The flower pot that sat on her desk shattered seemingly out of nowhere. My god. It's like when you're like, my eyes turn red when I'm angry. You don't want to know me when I'm angry. You don't want to see me when I'm angry. Flower pots shatter out of nowhere. Glass desk. Yeah, Light could not have a glass desk. She's like... She's like, damn it, I almost got that victory royale. The whole desk shatters. Yeah, maybe don't send pictures of your family online. It's up to you, though. There wasn't much of a reaction from the older man. He simply looked towards the shattered remains of the pot briefly and then back towards his daughter. Average Tuesday, honestly. Light closed her eyes and lowered her head. Her hands were clenched into fists on her lap with her claws digging into the palms. I feel like everyone on this planet digs their fingernails, like, into their palms. People need to start wearing gloves or, like, cut their nails. You sent it? Do I show it? Wait, low-key, he does look... Wait, high-key he looks like Bad Bunny. That is Bad Bunny. What? That's Dad Bunny. That is Dad Bunny right there. So much for internet safety. He's white, Feather is so white. Sorry, that just cracks me up. It's not Bad Bunny, it's Dad Bunny. Comment. Also, hi, comment. Okay. She took a deep breath and then another. She kept taking those breaths until she had her anger and fear back under control. Slowly, her hands unclenched. She took a cloth from one of her pockets and wiped the golden blood from her claws and from around the holes said claws had left behind. Dude, I'm so Slay the Spire brain rotted right now. I'm like, claw. It does this amount of damage and then increases all claw cards by this amount for the rest of the combat. Okay. Then the dragon applied a healing spell to her injured hands, healing them enough so that they don't bleed. Violence, she said, her voice filled with emotions ranging from rage to fear and sadness. You found Violence? What happened? Did he attack you? Did he hurt you? Light opened her eyes to meet her dad's eyes. The iris of her left eye was still gold, but it was clear that she felt more fear and worry rather than pure anger when she had felt moments before. Waters moved his hand, setting it on his head. When he realized that he could actually touch his head without the tank, probably because he was so used to having the tank on, he did a full sweep by pressing his palm to his forehead. Then he ran his hand through his hair to the side of I keep forgetting that Waters has hair. For some reason, I just picture him as bald. Under there, I know that he has hair. But, like, I feel like he's, like, bald and, like, makes a nice slap sound when you slap his bald head. Like, you know when you slap a bald person's head? Yeah. I don't know, he should be bald. That's my... You know, if Marcella was bald, Frey'd be slapping that bald head every day. Like, she'd find it the funniest thing ever. Last thing that she did before his pod was shot out into space. She'd be like, here's one for the road. Then he ran his head through his hair to the side of the fin that always made it seem as though he had a mohawk. I had attacked him, he said. I'm not slapping people's heads! I'm not slapping people's heads. It's just like, it's a satisfying sound, you know? Marcelo did not die. He would never have dated Freya if he was bald. Actually, he would never have been captain if he was bald. You have to have hair to be a captain in the Soul Pack Navy. Ask Virgil. Ping him. And ping Virgil right now and say, is it true that you have to have hair to be a captain in the Soul Pack Navy? Like, bald, and ping someone else ping him and say, if someone is bald, do they get, like, dishonorably discharged from the Navy, the Soul Pack Navy? It's true. He will confirm it. How many people that are bald have restraining orders against? 0! Actually, I don't know if I know any bald people. Are any of you bald? Can I call you my bald friend? I really wish I got to slap Okaina's bald head before he died. So true. So true. His corpse is probably still... Well, no, it's probably cleaned up by the guard force. He said it's true. Spreading misinformation. It's true, guys. Does your teacher count? Yeah, can I call your teacher my bald friend? This does not bode well for Jean-Luc Picard. It's okay, because that's the Federation. Federation is different. You're actually, like, it's encouraged that you're bald. You get promoted faster if you're bald. But the Soul Pack Navy, the second you go bald, it's over. If Freya removed Friedrich's hair, well, no, she's an admiral, so she's safe. Who else do I know that's a captain? In the RPG, there's Kos. Kos is bald. All Anathi are bald. I didn't even think about that. Do you think Anathi, like, have, like, toupees? Like, once... Because, like, they'd never thought about the fact that they could have hair until they met humans, and the Soul Pact Union was formed, and toupee businesses boomed. Anathi wearing toupees left and right. Do you think Eclipse ever wore a wig? Do you wear wigs? Will you wear wigs? When will you wear wigs? Okay, we gotta continue. We got really off track. I had attacked him, he said. That made Light's eyes widen in shock. Her ears pinned back as she tensed up. I'm not injured, Waters continued. I healed. He couldn't. He got away. Of course he did, Light muttered as she leaned back in her chair. She took a deep breath and slowly relaxed. Her dad wasn't injured, that's what mattered. She sighed and stood up. She walked back to the terminal to check on the progress of the printing of a new helmet for Waters. The dragon needed to do something before she punched the wall. Do you remember what happened before you and Violence fought? She asked. Waters was quiet for a while. Light looked up from a terminal, her ears perking slightly. She could tell that he was thinking. After a bit of time, she heard a sound of frustration from her dad. The dragon knew the answer even before he spoke it. No, I don't. Light's stomach did flips. She focused back on the terminal, her ears lowering. Part of her guessed what happened. Maybe she even knew, and she just didn't want to admit it. It had something to do with the Wave Seeker. It had to. Perhaps she had thought of that, or she had sensed it that day, when Waters had left the cave. Had he felt like her dad? Dad, Light started to say, but stopped herself. Could she tell him that he had likely been possessed by the Wave Seeker again? Would it make him freak out? Would he vanish again if she tried? What could she say? What can she do? Who could she talk to about her worries about the Wave Seeker? Light closed her eyes and sighed softly. Her ears twitched as she looked up towards her dad. Waters had leaned his back against the glass and looked up towards the ocean's surface from below. How long has it been since... He trailed off. He didn't need to continue. The dragon knew what he meant. She took a sharp breath and walked back over to the tube. She sat on the ground closer to her dad, curling her tail into her lap. The dragon hesitated for a bit, then she sighed softly. 5 days, Light murmured as she fiddled with the edge of her scrubs. She glanced up towards her dad, watching as his eyes closed. Waters ran his hands over his face and left them there as he took a tense breath in. Dad, Light said softly. She scooted closer to her dad, reaching into the water, and took hold of one of Waters' hands. She gently pulled the hand away and held it. It was her own quiet way to tell him that she was there for him. There was a clear sense of worry in her expression as she looked at her dad. Waters kept his other hand on his face, his eyes still shut to the world. After a second, he squeezed his daughter's hand and snapped a fang tooth into his lip, dropping his hand from his face and into his lap sharply. He opened his eyes and looked down at the hand in his lap. Fuck, he murmured. The funeral, is there a date decided? Light nodded quickly. This Sunday, she said as she gave her dad's hand a gentle squeeze. She understood why her dad wanted to know that. Marcella was his friend in a sense, and the Wave Seeker had taken time for Waters to mourn that loss away from him. The dragon rubbed the back of her dad's hand with her thumb. She watched him carefully. I don't know much else besides the date. I'm sorry for not being able to tell you more. All right. Okay, Waters said quietly, as if he was saying it to himself. He looked towards Light and tried to present a smile to her. It was a bit of a goofy smile, crooked from half effort, and didn't fully match with the worry in his eyes. That's okay. I can call Cam or Comet later. One of them might have more details. I should let them know where I've been as well. The smile kind of dropped away gradually, anxiety causing his brows to furrow. I don't know how to explain. Light took a deep breath and met her dad's eyes. How much do they know? Oh, sorry. How much do they... Ugh. I read it in the same, I try to differentiate people's voices, but it's actually not that different. So when I say it again, I'm like, wait, that sounded exactly the same. Anyway. How much do they know? She asked softly. Maybe I could help explain? I don't know. I just want to help you. She looked away, her gaze moving down to gaze at her free hand that rested in her lap, her ears lowered slightly. There was a slow shadow of guilt that crossed over Waters' features. Not enough, he said with hesitation. Light could guess that her dad didn't want to admit that any of this was real still. He seemed desperate to cling on to the idea that it's something happening in his mind, like a brain issue, something medical. To Light's knowledge, he hasn't found any proof to that end. That doesn't take a long-winded explanation to get to. You have seen her recently. You know, a little more than I do in that way. I guess I just need you nearby to make sure I don't bail out on the truth for this. It was a reasonable request, one Light could easily honor. It was something she would honor. The dragon watched as her dad went silent. She knew that her dad was trying to make amusement out of the situation, but it was terrifying. So very terrifying. He clenched his fist and decided that he found it interesting to look at. If it can be considered the truth, when I can't even believe it myself. Light looked at her dad. Her eyes narrowed ever so slightly, just barely enough to be noticed. Was it that he couldn't believe it, or that he didn't want to believe it? Deciding that they both had spoken enough about the topic, the dragon chose to change the subject. They didn't need to continue talking about all of this right now. Are you hungry? She asked softly. Can I go make you something to eat? Waters closed his eyes for a second before he looked towards the computer he had set up for printing. It was going to be a little bit while longer. Yeah, I can eat, he said as he looked back towards his daughter. How does he eat in water? Light gave a small smile and nodded. Unless he, blend it up and, does he soak it up like plankton? Light gave a small smile and nodded. All right, I'll make something. The dragon gave her dad's hand one final squeeze before letting it go. She stood up, doing her best to hide her wince as pain shot through her leg from her sore muscles. Then she started her walk from the lab back to the dining hall. Light will make something for her dad to eat, taking her own plate of food to eat with him in the lab while they waited together. For now, it was peaceful, even if worries plagued both of their minds like a tidal wave. Not this again. But I feel like if Light makes him a sandwich... Where did the lid for this go? What the hell? Huh? Oh, there it is. I'm an idiot. If, you put a sandwich, this bread just gets really soggy and, things start floating away. Like soup, you can't eat soup in water. SpongeBob mechanics nerd. Fair. Okay. Proof of Frog's statement. Who's whiter? Well, the lighting here makes me look really pink and orange. Alright. A new notice has been placed up on the Keepers of Solace notice board this morning. It's a good thing Freya's out of commission right now, because she'd take this down. Remembering the life of Opal Skullcath. There when it mattered, recognized leader and resident of Solace. Funeral service. Burial at the Keepers of Solace gravesite behind the community center, orchestrated by Croy Forge Mail. Food will be offered after the burial in the events hall. All are welcome, but all are expected to bring respect. Marcello's jacket. I need to grab another water bottle. I'll be right back. He's used to soggy food, but thermos for soup. Sipping the soup through a straw. Do you guys know? I used to have a marble jar for chat. They did something bad. Or was it something good or something bad? I put a marble in the jar. And if they filled up the jar... I don't remember what it was. I don't think they ever filled up the jar, so I never decided what was going to happen. That was a fun time. That was back in the day. The day had arrived. Marcello's funeral was this weekend, and it was time for his body to be taken and prepped for the service. Friedrich had told me that the technicians would arrive at noon, which was in 10 minutes. I spent what little time I had running my hands through his hair and telling him that I'd miss him. Part of me still hoped that this was some big mistake, a terrible joke, and that he'd wake up and hug me again. If I had the ability to sleep, I'd hope this was a nightmare. Friedrich was nice. I could see why Marcello chose to contact her first. It seemed like she really cared about him. After her initial visit, she stopped by again to talk to me more. The funeral was being moved to her ship, so Marcello could have a traditional Soulpack Navy funeral, as I was sure he would have wanted. She also showed me a draft of the eulogy she was writing. I said it looked nice, but I couldn't bring myself to do more than skim it. I wanted to hear more stories from when she knew him. Friedrich had known Marcello for years longer than I had, and from a completely different part of his life. He sounded so brave, so intelligent, just as he was on Solace. I hoped she was planning to stay longer than just for the funeral. You should do it again with random beads and then make a necklace out of it, so same chat when you wear it. That's funny. I heard footsteps and soft voices coming from down the hall. I tried not to panic. I knew this was coming, but it felt too fast. It wasn't fair that he had to go. 5 people entered the already cramped room after confirming that this was the correct unit. I was pushed back to the wall as they surrounded the hospital bed, frozen by uncertainty and distress. I didn't know whether to watch or get out of the way. I wanted to tell them to be gentle and careful, not to hurt him. Freya, a familiar voice cut over the commotion in the small room. Friedrich was standing in the doorway and ushered me out. Let's step into the hall and let them work. I glanced back and forth a few times before nodding and escaping the room. I stood close, probably a little too close, to Friedrich, as I watched them pull back the sheet and inspect him with all their strange instruments. I tried to understand what they were doing. It was scary to see him poked and examined like this. Then they started to take off his jacket. Wait! I barged back into the room, all 5 of the technicians staring startled at me with their hands frozen mid-task. I shrunk back a bit, sorry for interrupting them. Can I have his jacket? I asked meekly. I couldn't bear to see it destroyed or thrown away. One of the technicians looked back out into the hall to Friedrich. She nodded. The technician nodded, and the jacket was handed to me. I thanked them quietly, and they immediately returned to work. I held the jacket close to me as I walked back to my spot next to Friedrich. Marcello's jacket was mine now. He'd be dressed in his navy formal wear for the funeral, the all-white suit that had been ruined at the ball, and he had patched up again for Mira's wedding. I only ever saw him in that suit a handful of times, but this jacket was what I associated with him the most. I held it close for a minute, then started to put it on. You should probably clean that first. Friedrich placed a hand on my shoulder. I slowly removed my arm from the sleeve and held it in my hands again. The jacket was filthy. It was still covered in blood and dirt from the bunker, but I didn't care. I had only recently cleaned the bloodstains off of my own clothing. I didn't want to risk damaging the one piece of Marcello I had left. I'm worried it'll get ruined, I explained. This jacket means a lot to me. We could take it up to the ship and get it cleaned there. I guarantee it's been through the exact washers before, Friedrich offered. I trailed off, staring back into Marcello's ICU room. I couldn't look away despite the heartache it caused me. I caught a glimpse of the bruises on his back as they turned him, and I winced. Friedrich's expression softened. She furrowed her brows sympathetically and leaned into my line of sight. There has to be a sink around here. We can clean it there. She nudged me towards the end of the hall. I hesitated, not wanting to leave Marcello alone. I looked back down at the jacket. Marcello would want it clean, I told myself. I gave a silent promise that I would be back and followed Friedrich down the hall. At the end of the rows of hospital rooms, we found an ICU staff washing station with 2 sinks. Friedrich turned on the tap and ran the water over her palm. You'll want to use cold water for this, she said. Once she was satisfied with the temperature, she rolled up her sleeves and we started the process of washing his jacket. It was quiet other than the running water. Neither of us spoke. I watched the bottom of the sink turn red, then pink, then clear. Eventually the jacket was back to its original white color and set to dry. We both stood back for a minute, listening to the water dripping from the jacket onto the concrete floor. Friedrich was the first to break the silence. I remember when I gave Marcello that jacket, she said. I had just promoted him to captain and put him in command of the Arcturus. She stepped forward and held one of the sleeves, feeling the fabric between her fingers. All he'd wanted since I first met him was to be a captain. So, to commemorate the occasion, I had this jacket made. She sighed. I thought he'd just let it sit in a closet, but instead he wore it every single day. He loved being captain, I smiled. He told me it was his dream since he was a kid. I just wish he had more time. Memories of the first time I met Marcello flashed through my mind. How many nights he stayed on the bridge to communicate with me, the strange new life form, never judging, just wanting to understand. He was the most curious person I had ever met. This planet wouldn't be what it is without his influence, I continued. I wouldn't be who I am without him. When I think of Marcello now, I think of this jacket. Friedrich let the sleeve rest and turned to me. Promise me you'll take care of it. I nodded solemnly. Once the jacket was dry, I removed it from the rack and put it on. It was slightly too big for me, but Marcello always kept the sleeves rolled up, so that helped. Wrapping my arms around myself almost felt like I was holding him. Friedrich and I stood quietly again. I wondered if she was also hesitant to go back to the ICU room at the other end of the hall. She looked at me with a mix of sympathy and sadness. After everything she had done, and how kind she had been to me, I couldn't help but give her a hug. Thank you, I said, muffled into her shoulder. He would have wanted you to have it. She hugged me back. That's like I think second, third thing that I made that made Virgil cry. He's been so sad at everything. Like, he keeps saying it's not Marcello's death that makes me sad, it's everyone else being sad and Marcello dying that's making me cry. Glad he's suffering a little bit with the rest of us. Belios thoughts. Yeah, reaping what you sow. Belios sat at the base of a tree. His new home near the cove was finished, but he still enjoyed the refreshing scent of the peaceful air. A lot has happened in the past few days. Marcello's death. He didn't hear about it until Light had told him, and now he feels bad for all the things he said to Freya. He knows what it's like to lose a loved one. Although Belios doesn't exactly like Freya, he wants to help her. But how does he when he has no idea how? How do you help someone in a similar issue you're still recovering from? He didn't know. And as he sat underneath a tree, a familiar presence arrived. He didn't have to guess who it was, because before he knew it, Light was in a smaller form of her dragon wrapped around his neck. He could sense something was wrong with her, but he didn't push her to talk about it. He could feel how Light was trying her best to calm down. So he let her, but that didn't stop his mind from wandering on who made her so upset. He knew she was at the hospital, but he couldn't have caused trouble since he wasn't there. So his first thought is like, did I make her mad? No, I wasn't even there. He hadn't heard of anyone be admitted. So what has you all grumpy? Belios asked. An idiot decided to make Freya angry while she was grieving, and she had shattered all of the hospital's lights. Light replied as she slid from her brother's neck. She settled onto his lap and gently butted her head against his head, as if to demand pets. Slowly and with a chuckle, Belios started to run a hand through his sister's soft fur, helping her to relax. I've been playing Infinity Nikki while listening to this stream, and I blame Myth. Tears on my keyboard. He had to think of who would be so hateful to her. Oko was out of the picture since she was dead. The only other person he could think of was Truffle. That gesture has had it out for Freya for a while. What wouldn't they do to hurt her? However, he didn't let anger control him. He thought about it and took several deep breaths. Belios waited for Light to calm and slowly go to sleep. Then he slowly and carefully stood and went to his new tower. Once inside, he placed the small dragon on his bed before going over to a table. Belios bumped into it to know it was there. He tapped his finger across the table to feel around. He felt his notebook and picked it up. It was no use in writing words, they'd be unreadable, so he began writing sigils in the word's place, sigils that could be useful later. At least it cleans the dust from your keyboard is crazy. Alright, I will give some context for this, for those who didn't know. During the funeral, in between all of the, like, the eulogy and, like, everyone speaking, and, you know, his pod being sent out, Freya went and stood next to Marcello's pod / casket, whatever, and spoke to him. Because she didn't really have anything prepared to say to other people, but she wanted to talk to Marcello. Hey. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I wish you were here to tell me that everything was gonna be okay. That everyone telling me all these terrible things is wrong, and I did the best that I could. You always protected me from all mean people. But I'm all alone now. I've never felt so alone. And scared. I don't know how to do any of this without you. I just wish you were here. I love you, Marcello. I'm sorry I never said it before, but I love you so much. I hope you knew that. I'll miss you. Ha ha ha. They never said I love you. But I am sure that Marcello knew that Freya loved him. I think, I mean, she hopes that he loves him too. He, through his actions and everything, it was pretty obvious, but I heard it during the funeral and I cried. Call me Marcelo the way I'm dead. I got all my crying out before any of the stuff actually happened. Like, I cried, during doing, like, voice acting for, you know, Freya finding Marcelo. And it's like another time when I was really sad. I don't remember. It was writing this. Writing this made me cry uncontrollably. Voice acting was fine. The funeral was fine. Everything. Chill. I was trying not to cry during my speech. I could tell. Tears on my dino nuggets. Oh, no. Alright, sorry I haven't posted in a long time. I was busy. Warnings, mention of violence, torture, and language. A lot of torture this week. Recording transcript. You get anything from him yet? Nothing worth a penny of sense yet, sir. He's talking about something called the Jailer. Same old cult shit. These guys never make sense. Continue trying and let me know if he slips anything about what the masked being they were following does. Sir, yes, sir. Please, I thought you were a hero. Please, Najuma, slow down, would you? We don't all have artificial legs. Oh, my bad, Rebecca. I had no idea you were there. That's not like you to not notice someone. Is everything all right? Fine. Just thinking of Arthur again. I miss him too, but you shouldn't get your hopes up at every mention of a masked being. He could be in any of their domains. I know. It's just, what if this is the one maybe we'll finally have him back? Would be nice to know that speechless meathead back again. To have that speechless meathead back again. Huh. Did that supporter say anything yet? Nothing yet, just talking about the jailer or whatever. What? Say that again? Whatever? No, before... This guy's an idiot! The jailer? Where have I heard that before? Wait here, Najuma. I need to check something. Okay. Face ID required past this point. Face scan complete. Welcome, Chief Engineer Jules. I thought I told you to wait, Najuma. Oh, whatever. I just need to dig up some old files. Sure, but on what? On Arthur. What? You have files on him and you never told me? You never showed me? Why? He told me to never let you see his files. I'm sorry, Najuma. That doesn't answer my question. He never told me. All he said before he went missing on that mission was, don't let the boy see my files. He wouldn't like it. But with that info, I might be able to find him. I might be able to bring him back, and then he can tell me how proud he is and go for ice cream, and I had no idea you missed him that much. I'm sorry, Najuma, but I need to follow his word. I know that it's what he wanted. Fine, but if you find anything that can help me find him, then I get to read that file. And don't say it's what he wanted. Say it's what he wants. I know that tough bastard is still trucking out there somewhere. I don't even think the Great Anomaly could take him out. He was stubborn like that, huh? I'm going now, Najuma, and I will let you know if I find anything that will tell us where we can find Arthur. That's better. Okay, while you do that, I'm going to see if that follower can tell me anything useful. Good luck, Rebecca. And you, Najuma. Door closes. Now let's see if I can make him talk. Oh, sir, you're back rather soon. I thought you'd give me more time, but I must apologize. I still haven't gotten anything out of him. Open the door. It's my turn to make him talk. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Opening it now for you, sir. Door opens, door closes. Ah, so the fucker who calls himself a hero has finally arrived to talk to me in person. What took you so long? Too caught up in torturing the innocent? Shut your mouth. Trust me, you have it far better here than ending up those other followers. And that brings me to our first question. What happened to them? What were they promised? Why should I tell a dickhead like you anything? Spits. You should tell me anything, because anything those guards could do to you, I can do 10 times worse. So talk now. Coughs. Okay, I'll talk. Just no more, please. I assume something happened in between here. If you give me anything useful, then maybe we will leave you alone. Now answer my question. The jailer promised them no more pain of any kind and then turned them into that. But the few of us who didn't turn noticed that he didn't seem pleased with any of the ones he changed. Like they didn't turn out exactly the way he wanted. Slow down and go back for a second. This jailer, what is it exactly? Is that the masked being you worshipped? Yes, he is. When we were all present in front of him, he introduced himself in that name. Okay. How did you first discover and start worshipping this jailer? My wife was murdered by some psycho who thought the anomaly would happen again and thought killing people was the only way to please whatever caused the anomaly. I really like when people, like... Because, like, there's no way that everyone just, like, accepts, like, oh, okay, people just randomly disappeared. Like, the weird, like, religious fanatics would go crazy. Like, new religions would pop up because of the anomaly. Crazy stuff. Like, I love hearing about this kind of thing. I love when people come up with, like, I'm surprised people haven't come to Solace with the idea of, like, this is some, like, revenge by some deity, you know, karma for something that these people did or whatever, and they have to, whatever, I don't know, start sacrificing people. So he started killing people left and right, and eventually he got to my home and killed her. I was so angry and so sad, and I strangled him to death. I snapped his neck. I didn't mean to, or maybe I did. I don't know anymore. I was angry and sad. I'm still so angry and sad. Slap! Get back on topic. I don't give a damn about your sob story. Man, you really are nothing people said you were. Caring, kind, and efficient. Well, I guess the last one is true. I'm kind of normal people, not monsters like you who worship mass beings just to get the edge on society, just to end up becoming killers. I miss my wife, Tails. I miss her a lot. I'm going to go join a cult. I'll be back. Tears on my cult. He came to me in a dream. I was in this white plane. It was weird, but it was peaceful. And I saw him, or at least his shadow. He never did show us what he looked like. He told me, I can get rid of that pain for you, but you're going to have to worship and feed me in return. And I took the deal immediately. I wanted to stop feeling the sadness and anger from losing her. He snapped his fingers and suddenly my right leg transformed into some kind of armor. It looked like it was made of metal, but I know for a fact it was flesh and bone. But I felt so light, like all the pain in my life was gone. Then I started giggling like a fool. I couldn't stop laughing and I couldn't stop smiling, and then I noticed that something was wrong. The world started fading, and the skin from my leg started to cover the rest of my body before he snapped his fingers again, and suddenly my leg went back to normal. He said, I have enough monsters, but man, I thought you'd be a bigger meal. And that's when I woke up surrounded by those things earlier. That will do for now. Thank you for your help. I'll let the guard outside know you're willing to help now. You should be put in a nicer room and given food. Also, the beatings will stop. Now we need to go see if anything like this has happened or if the being you've described has a match in the database. Wait, we're done? For now, yes, but I will question you more later, so please continue to be compliant. And you mean all the stuff about the food in the room? You've answered my questions, so reward will hopefully encourage further honesty. Thank you. Maybe you aren't so bad. I don't know, man. You seem to be really, like, beat up before. I don't know if you aren't so bad. I'll be seeing you. Door opens, door closes. Guard, be sure to upgrade his treatment, and any further interrogations will be done by me and me alone. Understood? Yes, sir. Can I ask why? Did I give you permission to speak back or ask questions? No, sir. I apologize, sir. I will work on your quest right away, sir. That's better. I'm going to my quarters, so I'm not to be disturbed unless absolutely necessary. Understood. I'll tell anyone I see, sir. Good. Alright, I'm off. End of transcript. I know I'm late, but no, I don't believe the music in A Farewell to Captain Marcelo is copyrighted. Thank you! I figured it wasn't because there wasn't anything that popped up in the description of the YouTube video. Usually there is, but... Alright, and now we are... Yeah, this is past the funeral. The memory is not him. More Freya. All of my problems seem so insignificant up here. I wish that were the case. I gazed down at Solace, the planet I created almost 7 years ago, the blue and green marble that held everything I loved. I remember asking what it should look like to be the most habitable for the most life possible. Sorry, habitable. To be habitable for the most life possible. Sorry. And Marcelo told me about Earth. He showed me pictures, images of the beautiful cities, landscapes, and wildlife, and I tried to replicate it, recreate the home to which he never returned. He would often take his shuttle up here, sometimes with me in the passenger seat. He said it helped him clear his mind, but Solace was still too large in my vision. I stretched my form as far as I could, across the galaxy, but even with billions of stars like specks of dust, my problems were not insignificant. I had never felt pain, but I'm sure this feeling must be close to it. I thought I'd experienced grief before this year. I'd lost my Lumeran friends, witnessed so much death and destruction from war, but none of it compared to the unforgiving despair of losing Marcelo. I flipped through the memories I had with Marcelo, settling on one moment in time and watching it play back like the movies we loved to watch together. A moment on the island I had made at the beginning of Solace's existence, It was a sunny, cloudless day, as usual, and two members of the Arcturus crew were playing football. Neither of them were Marcello. He was sitting to my left. I could hear him comment every once in a while on the game, teasing the two on their form or boasting that he could do better in his sleep. I was staring intently at the game, my eyes rarely leaving the ball. I begged my past self to turn and look at Marcello, even for a second. Instead, I kept watching the volleyball get bounced back and forth, back and forth. Please let me see him. Suddenly, the ball dropped to the ground, and all three began to laugh. It was only then that I turned to Marcello, only briefly. I saw him smile and laugh. He was perfect. The salty ocean air gave his hair just the slightest bit of curl. The wrinkles by his eyes creased as he laughed. I wanted so badly to reach out and touch him, to place my hand at his cheek or hold his hand. I was limited by my past self, still learning about these strange new creatures called humans, unaware of the future that awaited her. Marcello disappeared once again from my peripheral vision, and my gaze was back on the ball. The game had started again. The loss of his image in my memory brought my grief back fresh. It felt like the moment I watched his pod fly away from Friedrich's ship, when he was finally permanently gone. I couldn't deal with that feeling. I reversed the memory, back to when I looked at him, and played that moment over and over. His laugh, the clinking of the ice in his glass, the ocean waves crashing on the beach, over and over and over. I could stay here forever, never accept that he was really gone and listen to his laugh for the rest of time. He never had to leave. He was right there, right here, again and again and again. Laughter, sunlight, waves. I opened my eyes to the empty darkness of space. It wasn't helping. Memories weren't him. There was no way for me to feel temperature, but somehow it felt cold. Solace slowly returned to the center of my vision as I approached. My home, but it didn't feel like it anymore. Not without Marcello. Oh yeah, we get the thing I've been waiting for forever. How to Grieve for Mortals. This is a comic that Comet has been working on. Tick, tick, tick. Tick, 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 tick. Greek. Freya? I'm back from the market. I've got some of my favorite teas and snacks. I know you don't have to eat, but it's something. And the way you drew these hands, like, incredible. I need to take classes from you or something. This is like a perfect hand. Sorry. Can I share with you something important? I don't think I've shared this with anyone. And, I'm sorry. I'm not good at this. In my culture, back in Arum, we have had a tradition when someone close to you dies. Or we have had a tradition when someone close to you dies. It could be a pet, a family, someone you love. It's a sign of grief and love, a braid and a bead. Something to keep the one lost close, even if you're apart. Let me tell you, it wasn't the first attempt. The braids can be as elaborate, the beads as colorful. What matters is what it represents. You have two. Yes. The red bead is for my son. The gold for my king. This tradition was born out of love and longing. And, I know you're not really... I know you only interacted with Lumerin for most of your existence. This might be a bit selfish, but it brought me comfort in my grief, so it might help you in yours. I was never close with the captain, but I know he meant a whole lot to you, Amira, and you're my closest friend, so I thought I'd add one to my braid. I hope that's okay. Is that a yes? Yes. I never even considered the fact that I would outlive him. I thought we'd have more time. It doesn't feel real. It feels like he should still be here. Does it get easier? It takes a long time. There will be some days where you feel like you can't breathe. There will be some days where you feel like you're back at square one. Why do we have to be immortal? Why do they have to be the ones to die? I don't know, Achara, my friend. There's a saying that says everyone dies twice. Once when you stop breathing. The second when your name is spoken for the last time. Perhaps that is why we can't die. So our loved ones can live forever. I love this. Ugh. I want this as a poster. I, like, actually want this as a poster. That's what I think, at least. And please know that as long as I'm alive, you'll never be alone. There. Now we match. I'm going to make some tea for us, and then we can do whatever you want. Maybe listen to music or something. Thank you, Comet. God. I'm such a hypocrite. And this is Marcelo and Freya's mugs, by the way. Ah! The Burger King beans! I wasn't gonna say anything. You got the crown and everything, though. Please, please make a full-out version of that panel, and I will put it on the merch store, and I will buy and send you one. We need more merch. Oh, this is so fire. I'm straight up pinning it. Farewell, Captain. Tell them about what happened when you ate Burger King. Okay, well, do they need to know? Does everyone? I feel like it. Virgil bought me Burger King before work. Was it before work? Something. He bought me Burger King. And I got a Impossible Whopper. Those things are huge. And I got mozzarella sticks, and they gave us extra fries, so I ate those, and Virgil got me a strawberry shake. I ate all of it. Really fast. And that knocked me out. Within like 30 minutes after that, I was asleep. I slept for 2 hours, and I woke up, I felt like I was in a different dimension. I was so tired. I was delirious. And I joined VC. And I could barely, I couldn't type. I was like, yeah. The people in VC can tell you how I was. I don't even remember that night. People said that I sounded like I was drunk. Oh yeah, I fell asleep in the laundry basket. You're at Sonic for the first time? Get tater tots. 21 hours on that comic was worth it. There's a photo. Yeah. If someone wants to post the laundry basket or forward it into like general chat, so people can get the burger one for us. Yeah, forward the laundry basket photo into general. That was great. Last time I had Burger King, I got a burger. It was mainly just a chunk of lettuce, not diced. What? That's crazy. Alright. A farewell, Captain. I waited for everyone to say their final goodbyes. Marcelo, his pod drifting away in space. I, Admiral Friedrich, the Warden Comet, and the Lumaran Freya watched from the edge of the hangar. They all walked away back to the shuttle that brought us here, leaving only me left. I was caught up on the events that unfolded during my absence. I kept my eyes on the drifting pod. Hello, Captain. I sigh. Even after a million years, I thought I would get better at this. I take a deep breath. I've always wanted to talk to you face to face, but I never could think of when I should. Now I'll never get that opportunity, and will have to live with that burden. So I will say it here in hopes that my words may reach you somehow. The pod drifts further away. A few years ago, I lost someone very, very precious to me when almost everyone disappeared. I was cast in such a darkness, one where I didn't know if I could ever find the light again. I remember that my final day in my world, when I was out at sea, drifting aimlessly, maybe? I had watched the sky looking for anything to cry out to. Then a star, so bright and pure, appeared, and I had wished for it to bring me refuge, to bring me to a place where others like me could exist. I closed my eyes, and the next thing I knew, I was in solace. It was only later, when I saw the beacon you created up close, the one for the people to find their way to solace, that it was that very same star, the light in the dark, hope. I'll never be able to say thank you in person, and that will be the burden I walk with to the end of time. Guilt wraps itself around my mind. I thought that I could live the rest of my days in peace, that I didn't need to fight, that the people here in Solace didn't need my assistance. Maybe if I didn't live a hermit's life, maybe if I was more cautious at the ball, I might have been able to save those we lost, to save you. I think about the look I saw in Mira's eyes. I'm worried about Mira. I see a flame raging inside her, one that I've seen consumes people, sending them down a path of destruction, to themselves and those around them. And I do not wish to see her go down that path. I have seen the lengths that it can take someone. I will try to be there for her, to watch over her in your absence, to protect her. I think about Freya, the once vibrant Lumerin, her smile now shattered. I don't know what I can say or do for Freya, but I will try to be a shoulder she can lean on. Only my concerns for the future remained. Since I've been here, I've seen it happen. It starts with one, Cypher. He arrives on Solace, gets killed by Miraju, then Eclipse arrives on Solace and starts attacking people she believes is responsible for his death. Eclipse kills you, Freya kills Eclipse. The cycle of vengeance rotates once more. Solace can rest a little easier with Eclipse being gone, but I'm worried about who comes here next. Will they be more formidable than the last? Who will they try to kill this time? These thoughts are what plague my mind as we move forward. I promise this, Captain, whoever it is, I won't be sitting by a river idly. I will be one of many who fights. I had said everything that I wished for him to hear, now to say my final goodbyes. For my world, a title is granted to someone to show high respect and honor. You stood out from everyone. Let me say my thoughts to the end. Both here in Solace and among the stars, you are indeed worthy of one. I think long and hard about the title to be given. I looked at the pod again, even with the vessel so far out that you shouldn't be able to see it anymore. It stood out amongst the stars. I take off my hat and lower it to my chest. I have settled on your title. Continue to shine bright, Captain of the Stars. I return my hat to my head and make my way to the shuttle. So, okay, I'm confused, because I feel like... Was this the same planet that the Jingler was, like, we saw with the backstory? Because I don't remember that being established, that there was, like, a title thing or whatever. It was really saddening when every scarab spoke at Marcelo's funeral except the one in the cage. Bagel, may I have a pet scarab? Frog says yes. Can I have a scarab? When I did the event in Season 5, I did some lore wrote. Oh, okay. So just because, like, he lives for so long that this is, like, a different... It's like culture has evolved. Okay, okay. I guess, I think I DM'd you about this too. John Engler and Marcelo, like, never interacted. So I was a little confused at, like, how, like, he felt so strongly, like, when he died versus everyone else who has died. Like, at the ball, freaking Belios, Casimir. Anyway. It's touching. No, I will actually take care of mine. Can I have a scarab to use as a stress ball? That's crazy. I want a scarab stress ball merch item. Hold on, let me look here. Could do... What else again is... Here we go. Merchandise. Let me log in really quick. Oh, of course. Hold on, I got it's a two-factor authentication, this bitch. Ooh, there was a 6-9. Okay. Merch store. I forgot there's an I Heart Gatsby mug. It's great. Okay. Because I feel like... Is there like accessories? Is there a stress ball? Maybe not. School? Maybe a stress ball for school. Home and living, perhaps? No. There is not. There's wrapping paper, though. Rip Magos, you would have loved Cypher's fuck-ass bugs. Cypher have bugs? I don't even remember that, and that's my character. From the event? Bugs. Oh, the Robot Army. Were there bugs? I thought there were like... I don't know, Fluffy made those. I need like a shirt. I need a bikini with scarabs on it. That's what I need. Okay. Back to what we're doing. Sunday funeral before the Friday. Selena Gomez. My favorite bug. I went to a funeral before, sorta. It just wasn't called a funeral. A celebration of life for my sister. That felt calmer. There were people I knew. I could walk home all by myself, whenever I wanted, no problem. I knew the path. I knew the walls and sounds. It was intended to be happy, with strange people and small speeches. A lot of people love my sister, unsurprisingly. She's amazing. For this, though, this wasn't happy, like Miss Guides was intended to be. We went to Arcturus and walked a while in silence. We walked around big farms until we got to a ship. Everyone got in so easily. I didn't want to go in. I didn't know where we'd go. I held Croy's hand the whole time when we sat down. It was loud. Made me want to fidget, to distract myself somehow. But people looking like grim statues made me resist. It wasn't appropriate. We ended up in a larger ship. It was very empty, with just the stage and seats, with a coffin and a big picture of the captain. I felt underdressed. I know it wasn't my fault. I don't have many clothes. I'm not complaining about it. I don't need more. It's just that all of the suits and dresses, uniforms, even the photo of the captain made me feel like what I came was inappropriate for the event. My trench coat could have worked better. It had the shoulder pads like the older woman did. I can't remember her name. She looks nice, stern, but nice. If only I still had it. I really want to know what Kron's name for Freejik would be. Do you have one already, CJ? Not Friday, Monday. Oh. Oh, I see. Just changed it. That's funny. Still figuring it out. All right, all right. Gray hair. I can't laugh at the screenshots in general because the cold is making my lungs feel tight. Oh, let me look at the... Guys, I think I may have lost my girlfriend. Yeah, that Burger King did a number on me. They give me extra fries. I am at a PC now, I am. Good morning, Sleepyhead. How was the food? The way I described it too virtual, I cannot say in the server. That's how it felt too, man. Oh. We were genuinely worried. They put drugs in that burger, I swear to God. Me, when I had avocado, realized, am I allergic to Burger King? She went toe-to-toe with King himself. I was scared you were having a stroke. The people who came up to talk, it wasn't like when they talked about my sister. It didn't make me laugh. It didn't make me feel lighter. I felt the same. I still felt bad. I didn't know if I was meant to feel different. Corey said it was okay to feel like that, but was it really? If it was okay, why did everyone else seem to feel more bad? I saw it, felt it. Scowls and sniffs, tightened fists. Mira's knuckles turned white. It was during when Stardust Lady was talking. Dude, Mira and Freya just having this wedge driven further between them throughout the whole season, and this is the final straw. It's so sad to me. Marcella would never want them to fight. And it sucks because, like, the argument that Freya, like, when Mira started yelling at her, Marcella sided with Freya! Ooh. I felt stupid standing there after, while other people talked and drank and rode and ate. I didn't know how I was supposed to stand and where. What I was supposed to do. There weren't any instructions for this. Everyone there looked busy, sad. I wanted to go to Miss Guide, but she was making sure her dad was okay. Mr. Tank looked out of it. He was priority, and I didn't want to overcrowd him. I kept glancing to his arms, though. I was looking for those eyes again, daring them to flare up and ruin things, make him sick again. I saw Starry shifting about. I saw her, waved. I tried to get close, but she wouldn't even look at me. I don't know if I did something wrong. I never know. No one tells me anything. I'm not an idiot. I can try to understand. If I try to understand, I can try to fix it, or I could just be told how to mend it right off. But she wouldn't even speak to me. Everyone else was more grown up than me? Is that the right way to describe it? Talking with each other like they knew each other for a long time, letting out empty laughs, standing tall. I didn't have to go. It was weird of me to go. I didn't know the captain personally, but I felt like I should. Dad said it could have been out of respect. The captain was technically a leader of Solace too, with Stardust Lady. So maybe it was like that. I'll stick with it for now. Maybe I'll know when I get like everyone else too. I saluted the picture before we all went back to the small ship. He was a captain, and that's what people lower than captain does, right? I think? That's so cute! I don't know, I saw the older woman do it and a few others. I also left a shiny rock I found. It was a really dark blue. In the day it usually just looked black, but in the dark with small light it's blue and purple with white speckles. I think he might have liked that, maybe? Dad said he probably would, being a captain in the stars. I wonder if he'll be a star now, too, his body floating with them. Oh, this is so sad. We're back to land now, to the smells, sounds, feels of home. I left a present for Stardust Lady in her post box a while ago, but she hasn't found it yet. I cleaned the dust off the present and put it back before going with Dad to sleep in Frostfire again. It's surprisingly okay. I liked the fireplace. Dad taught me how to make s'mores and hot chocolate with it. They helped a lot. I'm still not used to the cold and the snow. It's fun to play in, though. I'm going to help Croy with the blind executioner's funeral tomorrow. I don't want him to do it alone, and no one comes. Or people get angry. No one needs fighting right now. And if there is any, I'll fix it. I'll push them out and say, "Do you not know how to read? Bring respect." Still working on that. It'll be okay, I think. Things will get fixed. I have everyone important with me now, so I just need to mind them like they've done for me. I'll be strong like them one day. God! Ah, that's so sad. February 8th. A drink, a time passed. He's the only one that could fix their differences. That is so true, Mika. That is so true. Oh, so tragic. We take it day by day. The air is cold, at that time just beyond the start of nightfall. Fireflies flicker through the air and produce those loud chirping noises. It is not a quiet night, not something peaceful. But Waters stands out there staring up at the sky for a moment longer than he would normally. He stands with his head angled up at the stars, silent. Soil is compressed under boots some distance behind him. The approach as someone walks upon the well-worn path to this location. It grows near, then quiet still. He does not move, does not look towards the sound. "Are you waiting on me?" a voice suddenly asks. Waters' shoulders jerk up in surprise. He turns around so suddenly that the water around his face jostles, and he has to balance it with a hand to the side of the tank. It's as if he didn't hear the approach, or at least wasn't expecting to be spoken to. It's Comet that stands before him. Waters had invited them to join the group at the bar after the faction meeting earlier in the day. It's not like he forgot about it, but maybe he wasn't fully expecting the invitation being actually accepted. Busy people are hard-pressed for free time. He started to say, only to trail off. What was he doing, actually? Lost in thought. Then he drops his arms to pull the edges of his jacket tighter, considering trying to zip up the windbreaker over the already zipped-up puffer jacket beneath it. It's not really that cold out for a normal person, but for him, it's an annoying level of cold. "We're a little early," he admits. Comet seems to look at him with either curiosity or confusion. It's hard to tell, always is. They shuffle their hands into their pockets of their pants. There's something on edge about them, probably having to do with the latest situation with Zinnia, Bob. He doesn't know much, but he knows from Zinnia, and he got the notice of the missing persons report previously. "And we're waiting outside?" Comet asks, an unspoken, "for any particular reason?" hangs there to follow it. But Waters doesn't have that answer. He shuts his eyes and taps his fingers against his side. Then he lets out a sigh when his mind reluctantly finds itself to the fact that he actually does not have a reason to be out here. So why? No, Feather is probably already here somewhere, he mutters out, turning to walk to the door and moving to push it open. She never locks the doors. The tavern is practically exactly the way it was when he last left it, but the plant life suspended between the rafters has started to vine a little bit more. It's slow, but the environment must be warming up enough that they can start trying to thrive again. It begins! Feather stands a distance from the doors, picking up empty glasses from tables onto a tray held in her arms. She looks surprised when she sees the two others standing there. Then she looks around the room for something. Maybe a clock? She sets the tray down and smacks her palms clean on the rag hanging out of her pocket before approaching. "Oh, hey, Waters," she says. Then she passes a nod of familiarity to Comet. Feather's eyes quickly turn to Waters, though. She seems to study him with her gaze, as if to suss out some great puzzle. No Cam today? Is there an undertone of disappointment there? Waters turns his head to look at Comet briefly, then out the door behind them. No, he should be getting here at his usual time. His words trail off. Waters then drops his gaze and raises his arm. He pulls the sleeve up and takes a pause as he looks down at the watch he wears. In about 5 minutes? And at that, Feather just smiles at him. There's a twinkle in her eyes that is off-putting. It's hard to explain. She reaches over and pats him on the shoulder firmly. He watches the hand with a growing confusion. Okay, cool. I'll get the usual started up, she then says, turning to walk away, but stopping suddenly and turning back. Oh, Comet, can I get you anything? You're joining tonight, right? With a glance between Comet and Feather, Waters rubs his shoulder and then makes his way over to his usual seat at the bar. Rando doesn't seem to be here today, or at least hasn't arrived yet, so all the bar stools are empty. It works out well for the new group number. Yeah, I am, Comet replies to Feather, still by the door. Liar, I do lock my doors. Wow, guard force not locking their doors. I can't believe it. Feather should be fired, actually. They look to the shelves of bottles and mixers lining the walls, lining the wall behind the bar. It's too far away. Hard to make out, and it's not like the shapes would really be indicative of the contents inside. Not without closer inspection. Do you have gin? Feather picks up the tray she discarded earlier with a hum of thought and nods to the bar. Comet follows her as she walks that way. Should have it, yeah. Take a seat wherever you want and I'll have a bottle out in a sec. Feather replies as she moves around the bar, sliding the empty glasses off the tray into the sink. She plugs the drain and starts the water. Right, thanks, Comet starts to say as they look at the 3 other bar stools, but their words get interrupted by Feather speaking again. Though I have to say, Cam always takes the seat by Waters. There's something smug in her tone, and it's followed by an audible sigh to Comet's side. You don't have to say that, Waters mutters out quietly with a hand on his head. Comet looks between the two as they slowly pull out the 3rd seat down from the right, leaving that empty chair by Waters. There's the clinking sounds of glasses as Feather moves around behind the bar. Then the gin bottle is placed in front of Comet, cap half unscrewed. She moves away for a moment to retrieve a clean glass, but Comet just grabs the bottle. Okay, what's going on here? They ask, unscrewing the cap the rest of the way. Feather sets a clean glass on the bar and sends a very strong look to Waters, as if to say, yeah, Waters, what is going on here? It's not a question he can answer. It's not a question he understands. It just feels like it's coming out of nowhere. Nothing, he answers quickly. Then he pauses and glances down at his watch again. I don't know. Feather's just... It's like the way siblings act. It's just a joke. Don't think about it too much. Hey! Feather's quick to protest. Then Waters laughs, turning his head away from the bar to the door as if he's trying to hide a face that is already well hidden. Feather doesn't hold on to the outrage long at the sound of it. She turns around and grabs the cocktail shaker. All right, whatever. What fancy drink can I get you today? She says in a teasing tone. Can you just surprise me? I haven't found another recipe I want to try yet. Waters admits with a shrug. He's been busy lately between the hurricane, recovery, and the island. Feather thinks about it, then an idea clicks in her brain and she gives a thumbs up, not saying a word. It's a threat in itself, the silence. But Waters nods, trusting that it won't be like poison or anything. Then Feather moves away to get started on his drink and Comet turns their attention to Waters. What was her deal? They ask suddenly. Waters looks over for a few quiet moments. He taps his gloved fingertips on the bar and considers the question. He's aware of how it looks, and this is not actually the first time he's noticed Feather imply something. It's just not something that's really likely at this point, not from his point of view. It's a way she messes with me. Cam and I are alone at the bar a lot. She jokes that we're secretly dating. It's not that big of a deal. The sound of gin pouring into a glass trickles to a stop. Oh. A spike of anxiety in Waters is checking his watch again. Look, he doesn't really know about that joke, and it's a conversation I know will be different, so for now, just try not to think about it. Okay, Comet says, screwing the cap back onto the bottle of gin and setting it down. Why? What's... The door swings open at that same moment. Waters rolls the sleeve back up to cover his watch and doesn't look back to see who enters. He already knows. You're late, he calls out without a second of hesitation. There's the sound of a laugh and 2 sets of shoes hit against the wooden floors of the bar. Then the bar stool next to Waters pulls out and Cam sits down in it. I'm not late. You're early, Cam retorts, crossing his arms on the bar. Marcello sits in the stool at the end of the bar, which happens to be the closest to where Feather is at that moment, so she immediately pulls the bottle of brandy she had saved for him up. She uncorks it, pours it into a fancy glass, and leaves the bottle up on the bar for him. Perfect. Thank you very much, Marcello says with a thumbs up to Feather before swigging half the glass down like it's a shot. That's insane. Poor Marcello's, like, his reputation after death is just that he's like a crazy alcoholic man. Everyone's saying canon. Oh my god. Alright, everyone drink some water in honor, half a water bottle like a shot in honor of Marcello. Feather then moves down the bar, lifting a glass of whiskey to sit in front of Cam and placing a tall glass of an ice drink in front of Waters. It shimmers with luster dust and holds the colors of the night sky within it, blues and purples. It's called a witch's brew. I have a feeling you'll like it, she explains with a wink. I'll leave you all to it then. Call me over if you need anything. Yeah, thanks, Feather, Cam says as he lifts his glass of whiskey like a cheers to the fleeing bartender. Then he takes a sip and nods in approval before setting the glass back down. So what's the topic today? Waters shuffles one of the spare water tanks out of the straps on his back, as he usually does. He's quiet with thought and slows his motions down to a stopping point with the tank resting on his lap. Usually, he's the one who starts discussions. He never really noticed it before now. There's not really anything in particular he wants to. Also, hey, Comet, Waters texted me that you'd be here, but he didn't really say why. Ah! Both of them look over at Waters, who now sits with both hands over the front of the tank. There's an unintelligible mutter from his speaker, either in another language or just nonsense. He taps the surface and recovers himself to rest his hands on the cold glass of his very colorful drink instead. I was forgetting that he sighs, flips the latch to temporarily cut off the tube from the refill cycle so that he can unscrew the cap and pour his drink into the spare tank. We met on that island I was investigating. Turns out it was just Freya, a place she made for Marcello and the Arcturus crew. Permanent tropics for permanent vacations. Guys, never chug an entire sofa! Why did you chug a sofa? I said drink some water, not eat furniture! Soda! Oh my god. Guys, I gotta start eating my chair. In honor of Marcello! I ate my kitchen. No, we don't need any screenshots of that. I love onion rings. No! Don't clip me eating my chair. Okay. Across the bar, Marcello lets out a short, reminiscent laugh into his glass. Really? Cam says, seemingly simultaneously thrilled and bewildered. A vacation spot? Comet looks down the bar at Marcello, then shakes their head and lifts their glass to take a sip of the gin. Yeah, a vacation spot, they say, amused by the whole ordeal after the fact. Cam lets out a laugh, then taps his glass. He pushes the glass forward so he can lean to look down the bar at Marcello, who catches his gaze with a raised brow, setting down his own glass of brandy. So, how did nobody know about this? He asks with a smile. Marcello takes a deep breath in and rolls his shoulders to lean back in his chair. At first, it seems like he's got an immediate answer in mind, but then he thinks about it for a second longer and swipes a hand over his eyes like it's aged him. Okay, we were only there for a month. Yeah, and you never went back? Cam asks, tone taking on something genuinely curious. I think if I knew I had an island all to myself, I would go there all the time. There's a hum of thought from the captain before he just shrugs his shoulders and leans forward to pour more brandy into his glass. Didn't really think about it at the time, and it's been a while since then. He finishes pouring and sets the bottle back down. Then he lifts the glass to his lips. I probably should return there sometime soon, though. It could be fun. I wonder if the drone's still there. Oh, he doesn't know that Freya's planning for them to have a date there yet. Oh, it's still there. Waters mutters out as he screws the cap back onto the spare tank. Drink fully poured in now. It was in a shed on the beach, Comet adds with a nod. That is where I left it, so yeah, that makes sense. And it was connected to that lab on the hill. Your lab, Comet continues, then lets out a sigh. It's still weird to think about. I was kind of convinced it was Cypher and Mirage's. After that, Marcelo lets out a sudden bark of a laugh, setting down his glass without taking a single sip. He covers his mouth with a hand like he's stopping himself from laughing more. Then he sits there with his eyes shut for a moment before nodding. Okay, yeah, I could maybe see that. Comet huffs a laugh of their own, shaking their head and tapping their glass of gin. No, you can't, they accuse. I really can't, Marcelo confirms without a second of hesitation. Waters sets the spare tank on his back and starts the refill cycle. The water in his tank begins to bleed into the colors of his very bright beverage. It's not the strongest drink he's doused in the water he breathes, but it's still a pretty direct way of getting the alcohol content. I don't know who those people are, he says with an audible sigh, propping his head on his hand and waiting for the luster dust to settle so he can see again. Really? Oh yeah, you wouldn't. I forget you got here more recently. Two completely different reactions at different volumes. They had put the planet into a state of war in the last era. They tried to destroy Solace. Missiles set to launch at towns, factions, Marcelo starts to explain, only to get cut off by the words that leave Waters' speakers. Oh, no, I did read about this, actually, he says, shaking his head with a hand raised as if it would help his memory. The name slipped my mind, but I remember reading about the situation and relating it to a mission I was on a little under 2 decades ago. Marcelo stares for a long moment. Then he takes a heavy, thoughtful sip of his brandy, until ultimately he decides he can't just leave it at that, and he sets the glass back down before he can swig down more of it. What kind of missions were they sending you on? In response, Waters is silent. He stares dead forward as he really takes the time to think, and consider whether or not he should really go into details about his previous operations. Based on the studies he's done into the laws in effect on Solace and the customs of the Solpac Navy, he knows that it doesn't exactly go by any of those rules. But everyone else is silent, and they are all looking at him. Waters shuts his eyes and taps his fingers on the countertop. Even when it's just him and Cam, he's never really fully gone into the details of his past. He's only ever briefly mentioned that mattered for context, how he met Elia and why that ended, and why she followed him here. Does he want to talk about his past? He should. I was tasked to quell rebellions. It was a planet that believed it no longer wanted to be under the rule of the Dorsa and threatened to bomb itself to oblivion to prevent the seas from ever rising. He trails off as he looks to the others. Then he huffs out a breath of courage, yet still looks away. My team stopped them. The planet was flooded. Damn, Cam says as he drinks his whiskey. Marcelo has an expression across the bar that Waters can only read as shock. Confusion? Horror? Huh. Waters was sure that Freya must have mentioned the Dorsa risk to Marcelo at some point, but the reaction really reads like he had no idea. Dude, it kills me that, like, Waters and Marcelo both have such... Like, they've both done such terrible things in their pasts for the people that they worked for. Marcelo has no one to talk to. I mean, he's dead now, so too late. But, like, he had no one to talk to because no one could relate to the things that he has had to do and sacrifice. But Waters would have been the perfect person to talk to. They both needed someone to talk to, and now Marcelo was gone. Oh, man. That would have been a great friendship. The AU, yeah, I mean, with Myth's permission, if Waters and Marcelo could, and Cam, you know, they'll continue to be the bar buddies. Who wants to be Yelena's friend in the AU? In the AU we trust. I need to keep writing it. I've been lazy. Frey, as soon as you bit the chair, I lost connection to the Infinity Nikki server. Hi, Cam. Oh. Marcelo's memory lives on. Yeah. I don't think Cam would have judged them. Yeah, Cam wouldn't at all. He'd just be like, whoa, that's crazy. But like, I want Waters and Friedrich to, like, get along. Update the AU My Life series. I know! Cece. Like, next month, maybe after that or whatever, I had kind of an idea for a drawing of Yelena and Marcelo. But I'll have to talk to you about it later. We're kidnapping Freya so she can do the AU. I have it open, and I've been, like, just trying. But the problem is, my problem right now is I'm in season, like, 3 of, like, the SMP. And season 5 is when, like, things really start. Like, I can bring people's characters in and stuff. Like, right now, like, it's, like, Comet. And, like, Ladice. Like, Talisker Sky is doing its own thing at that point. And, like, I just have to write, like, this next chapter is, like, the relationship progresses a little bit. Yelena, like, they share their past with each other a little bit. And then the next, no, maybe I'm in season 2. I don't remember. Then the next chapter, they get married, I'm pretty sure. And then after that, I can finally, like, they have their established relationship and the fun stuff starts, you know? I want the Peacekeepers to operate alongside Friedrich. Tell Virgil, please, put Virgil in the Peacekeepers server. Please. And ping him anytime he is mentioned. Because he will never, like, look at anything. I'm gonna be very honest. Season 3, where me and Glacier almost got married? What? I don't remember that at all. That's so funny. You're not helping with the admin team. It's just one big harem. Okay. Continuing. What? The captain says, and Waters sets his head deeper into his hand at the question. Flooded? How? That would have complete environmental devastation. Were you part of a massive criminal empire? Why'd you... What? Waters is quiet in response. The silence speaks volumes. Comet looks between them. Cam continues drinking. It was a long time ago. That doesn't explain... Hey, Marcelo, what missions did the SPN send you on? Cam interrupts to ask, setting his now empty glass of whiskey down. Waters cannot possibly be more grateful for the out. Marcelo sends a brief, exasperated look to Cam before shaking his head and shrugging his shoulders like he's still in disbelief. He takes a breath in, tops up his brandy. Why don't you answer that? You got your memories back, right? You remember the Saltback Navy's purpose? Cam stares back, then leans in his seat and scratches the back of his neck. Are you associated with the Saltback Navy? Marcelo asks after a notable pause. Well, the short answer is no, but it gets more complicated than that. It's impossible for me to have ever associated with the Saltback Navy. Marcelo's expression shifts, creating a mix of confusion and something like disgust. Why would you ever not be associated with the Saltback Navy? Everyone's associated with the Navy. Yeah, sure, man. You just lived your whole life on Earth without ever having interacted with the Union or the Navy. What incredibly dense species of rock did you happen to live under? What? No. This is what I meant by complicated. Where I'm from, or more accurately, when, the Saltback Union didn't exist yet. There's a very awkward pause. Each person in the room has a different, confused expression. Marcelo's look evolves into concern as he starts to speak. Explain. Okay, so you know how, like, when gravity is, like, super big and you're moving really, really fast, time just kind of goes meow and stuff? Silence fills the room, confusion all around. Like, time dilation. Yeah, time dilation. That's what it's called. I did that. Comet shoots a word in, a question, followed by Marcelo, who's now on the edge of his seat. How? Yeah, how is right. That doesn't just happen. That requires some insane sequence of events, something inconceivable, something... Oi! 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 Cam interrupts him. You're babbling like a dog with a bucket on its head. If you want an explanation, then listen. He takes a long sip of his drink before readjusting his position in his seat. I'll start from the top. My name is Cameron E. Kovacs. I was born on the planet Earth, May 18, 2117, at a hospital in Central Florida. Eventually, I became an engineer for NASA and was one of the heads of the Orion project, a new spacecraft that was supposed to break all the speed records, and one day be mass-produced for further travel among the stars. On June 25, 2151, I piloted the test mission for the aforementioned vessel. It was supposed to be a simple loop, go around Betelgeuse, and come back, get some samples on the way. Hold on, Comet interjected, a familiarity in the situation, a knowledge they hadn't previously learned. 2151. Beetlejuice. That means... oh no, please tell me you weren't when it... Yep. Yeah. Comet puts a hand to their face, carrying an expression of shock. Marcelo hasn't become any less concerned. What do they mean? What's the significance of Beetlejuice? Didn't it go supernova? It sure did. I was there. It's Beetlejuice, right? Not Beetlegoose. Betelgeuse. Marcelo immediately understood and sat there with his mouth agape. It was a hilarious expression. I was in orbit around the star when it collapsed, and then the shockwave knocked me unconscious. I woke up a few meters above Solace's surface before my lights went out again. The final impact is probably what caused my amnesia. As for how I survived, I have no idea. I think being mid-warp gave me just enough speed to escape the star's gravitational pull. Marcelo closed his mouth and took a very long breath. Do you know how astronomically lucky you are? Yep. Lucky with a twist of cruel fate. Being displaced 350 years in the future is one hellish price for survival. In response, Marcelo lifts his glass to the air. That it is, he says before taking a swig. Waters, who remains silent through the conversation, looks at Cam. He wants to express his concern. 350 years. Beetlegoose. He himself is only 6 years from his home, from his family, his people. Another 6 years to journey home would not take much from his life. 350 years is beyond any form of going back. He takes a breath in, but he doesn't say anything. He just sets a hand on Cam's shoulder, gives it a light squeeze, and then lets go. Well, he starts, not exactly knowing where he's even going. Have the drinks gotten any better in 350 years? Waters, Comet says, in a mix of surprise and shock. That's so funny. But Cam just laughs. Then Marcelo is joining him. Comet sees them both and shakes their head before their own laughter starts to mix in. It's good. It was good. Oh! This transition is too sad, man. Then it ends. They're going their separate ways for the night, varying levels of drunk, if at all. Lilac being nearby, and the librarians land not far, Comet offers to walk Cam home. Arcturus and SUNC being further away and the same direction, Waters and Marcelo walk together. It is a quiet walk at first. Waters is a bit drunk, Marcelo is as well, but then Waters stops in place and thinks, and Marcelo pauses in his walk to look back, an expression of confusion on his face. Sorry, Waters starts, realizing he's holding them both up from getting to their loved ones tonight. My people flooded planets. I don't know what drove that truly, but it feels innate. Something deep down, required by life. I've had the feeling to do it here, but I haven't. And I don't plan to. Not really. I don't want to. Marcelo walks closer quickly, setting his hand on Waters' shoulder. It stabilizes him. It stabilizes both of them. Hey, it's not going to happen. The huff of a breath, staticky through the speakers. A breath of doubt, of anxiety. How can you be so certain of that? I can't even trust myself these days. It's not going to happen because I'll stop it, Marcelo interrupts. There's a silence that follows. A sobering silence for Waters. He slowly processes the words. He considers his options. Then he lets his shoulders sag as he nods. It can be more complicated than just stopping me, he allows himself to admit, out loud, for the first time ever. Marcelo just sighs, patting Waters on the shoulder like he's unbothered by the potential difficulty of the situation. He turns and directs his path back to continue walking for Arcturus. Then explain it to me from the beginning, he says, before glancing back at the Waters that stand still. We'll figure something out. Hope. Is that what he can say he felt in that moment? Is that what he remembers? The darkened interior of SUNC, the dark tone of brandy in a glass, not a sip taken from it. Time has passed. It leaves only the memory. It leaves a man questioning if he can truly save the world for himself. How would he do it? Would that work? Why am I imagining Virgil and Waters' voices slurred for this, making me laugh? Oh yeah, sorry, let me do it again. Sorry, my people flooded planets. I don't know what drove that truly, but it feels innate. Something deep down required by life. I've had the feeling to it here, but I haven't. I don't plan to. Not really. I don't want to. Hey, it's not gonna happen. How can you be so certain of that? I can't even trust myself these days. It's not gonna happen because I'll stop it. It can be more complicated just stopping me. Then explain it to me from the beginning. We'll figure something out. Oh, it's missing a I love you, bro. We'll figure something out. The first take is how they thought it went. This is how it was. What myth sent in memes holds true. I'll stop it. He said very Chad face. Yeah, I know. Definitely, like, him saying because I'll stop it is like total smug cello. It's not gonna happen because I'll stop it. Oh, man. Alright, we have visiting Freya. I'm in this one, guys. I'm in this one. Oh my gosh. Oh, I keep forgetting I need to make an updated version of the frog soundtrack thing. That was fantastic, man.
Hey Frog.
Yeah?
I was thinking, Freya has been, like, all alone in the hospital. Do you think that we can bring Cupcake to her?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea. She loves cupcake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might
Now?
emotionally support her, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Do you know where Cupcake is?
It should be in the community center.
Oh, okay. I hope Freya's doing okay.
Yeah, this must be really
Ow.
rough.
Hush.
No, I'm not gonna bring the balls out. I'm not gonna bring the balls out. Also, I appreciate that it's from the dog's POV, so you have like the color blindness the dogs have. That's what's saving it. That's why I'm not bringing the balls out, because I appreciate that detail.
We're trying to be sneaky, remember? How else would you be able to make sure Frog is safe?
Oh, I heard it.
Oh.
And then here.
Hi, Cupcake!
Does the song match violence better than Lava Chicken? I've like come to associate the Lava Chicken song with violence so much, that it like, when I hear it, I think of violence. But this is also good. I read that she's pulling her balls out. She's pulling her balls out. He's pulling his cock out. I need someone to like commission Moist Critical to say she's pulling her balls out for me. What was I saying? I don't know. Continuing.
Standing on the desk, I see. Come on, Cupcake. We're gonna go visit Freya. If
I
you
think
can fit
Cupcake
through
might
these
be-
doors, you might be too big.
Yeah. No,
nice
no, no,
way.
no, no. I think
Cupcake doesn't
it
want to
might
leave
be
the
too
desk.
fluffy. Let me. There you go.
Come
Okay,
on,
try.
Cupcake, come on.
Cupcake is too fat to go out
Oh.
the door.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
A little too
Okay,
fluffy.
squish the fluff
Freya
out.
canonically like widens the door every time she brings Cupcake in and out.
Nope.
I'll just move the door off the hinges real quick.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh, come on, Cupcake. Okay, Cupcake, that's a big door.
Don't
You can
fat
fit.
shame
Okay, there you
Cupcake. She's
There we go.
fat. She's very fluffy.
go. This entrance, right?
think so.
I don't know. Where is the lights? I'm really scared right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I never seen this before in my life.
I've never seen the hospital with no lights. I'm
Okay,
really scared.
maybe
Wait.
the hospital has a power shortage right now.
I'm really scared. Okay, I'm gonna.
I
clutch
don't
onto
think I
Cupcake
told you
for
guys
dear
before
life.
that the lights would all be gone.
Uh-huh.
What? It's very dark. Knock knock. I'm gonna open it.
Come on.
Hi Freya.
Oh, the lights were out. Remember when Truffle came in and like told Freya like, "Oh yeah, you know he's not waking up, right?" And Freya got mad. She blew up all of the lights in the hospital to like scare Truffle, to be like, "Don't do that again." Anyway. I thought it would be a fun detail to have them all out in here.
Hi.
But she kept the one in Marcella's room. Well, she blew that one up too, but she put it back immediately and cleaned all the glass up in that room.
We bought a friend.
Cupcake.
Cupcake's a little too big to fit in.
Yeah, she's chunky. I'll come out there.
You little baby.
My keyboard.
Cupcake. They still haven't fixed the lights in here.
Yeah, what
Sorry.
happened with the lights?
It's a long story. I don't really want to talk about it.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Okay.
Hi, Cupcake.
Oh no, it's okay. I need to get better noise suppression.
Practically glued to your desk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, feel bad for leaving her there. I might be kind of absent for a while. Just with everything going on. Do you think one of you would be willing to take care of Cupcake for a little bit?
It was so quiet. I'm so sorry.
I've taken care of a sheep before.
Nice. I just
Mhm.
don't want to leave her alone.
Yeah.
Do you like frog, Cupcake?
You like me? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
she's a little temperamental.
Maybe
It's
some
okay. You're gonna
apple
be
strudel.
fine, Cupcake. Yeah.
Oh.
Frog knows how to make apple strudel.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
I'll take that as a yay.
Yay.
How have you two been?
We've been okay. What about you?
Yeah.
I've been better.
I wanted to do something special for Marcelo for his honor, and I'm very grateful
that?
for him. I made a plaque in his honor in the bar on his favorite
Yay.
chair. I also made a hot cocoa special.
Yeah! There's the hot chocolate. I should make a Marcello's hot chocolate at home. I should get whipped cream. What all does it have? Is that like a chocolate stick or something in it? Tell me like what it has in it. I will make a Marcello's hot chocolate. I'll get a cup that looks like it. Also, Truffle, I totally feel you. It's really hard to like when you're learning to roleplay, to separate yourself from the character. Because, like, a lot of my characters, like, Freya is very much a self-insert. That, like, kind of carefree, like, fun-loving whatever the heck she is, like, is very much me. And the character that I play in the RPG that Virgil runs is a little bit different for me. But, like, I still relate to her a lot. And, she has terrible timing and does such embarrassing things, and I get terrible secondhand embarrassment when I'm playing her because I'm like, oh, don't do this, but it's so funny. It's like I hate Truffle, fuck Truffle. Yeah, when your characters do bad things, it's like it's hard to be like, that's, I feel bad doing this to other characters, but you're not hurting other people. It's just characters. Chocolate. Marcho chocolate. I was tempted to make something for one of the baking classes towards the end of the season. That's cool. I would love to do. I should do like an actual like baking class stream. Although I don't have an oven, so I'd do something that I can do with a stove maybe.
To come and try it. I'm sure he'd be honored.
Do you want us to go to the bar and make one and bring it to you?
That would be great. I
Okay,
don't really want to leave him alone.
I
for the-
understand.
Thank you for visiting and bringing Cupcake.
Yeah, I feel like Cupcake, like her fluff got even more fluffier the second she saw you. She expanded. We did have to kind of
Did
compress
she?
her to fit her through the door of your office.
The more love she has, the more bigger she gets.
Yeah, it's true. I swear, she like took up like almost all of the couch whenever we'd watch movies.
Oh wow. Big happy
Feather inside of
I'm gonna go sit down again.
Cupcake's head.
But thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, we hope you feel better soon. And do you want to hug Cupcake one last time before we?
Yeah, come here,
Yeah.
Cupcake. You're so fluffy.
Yay.
Thank you both.
I had to manually add in Cupcake's sheep noises. Oh no!
And we'll bring you that hot cocoa soon, okay?
Freya, if you need anything, please give us a call.
I will. Thank you.
Bye bye, Bjorgi.
Bye bye.
Feorgi? Oh yeah, Virgil. I forgot to make the nighttime not pass. So Virgil was standing up like a freaking zombie. Oopsie. Oh, that's so sad.
Cupcake. There's no grass in here right now, but we'll get you some grass, okay? So you can munch
Yeah,
on it.
don't worry.
She's living
Don't worry.
such
You're
a
gonna
good
be
life in
well taken
there.
care of.
Yeah. I'm just gonna tie up right there. Yeah. Should I bring my other sheep over?
Yeah, they can have a play date.
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't know. Where is the lights? I'm really scared right now. I'm not gonna lie. I've never seen the hospital.
Put her
with
in
no
jail,
lights
thank God.
Thank you.
Virgil?
Virgil, get back down! You're
Sorry.
dead! You're not awake! He has risen again!
What is
Guys,
that,
it's no-
Bjorgi?
Bjorgi.
Incredible. I should just make a whole bunch of songs for like us. Just for like the soundtrack. I'll make like a happy one and whatever. If you send me, Frog, like a list of tracks that you would want to have that are just like kind of generic, that aren't for specific characters, I'll make you a soundtrack of like 10 different songs. I think that'd be good. And then I could put it on Spotify, but like without like the copyright thing or whatever. So it's not gonna, get you. Is this the Peacekeepers thing? All right, here we go. I know this is like 30 pages long or something. This, dude, Comet's art is like actually incredible. It's always been great, but like, holy. This is like, I want this as a poster too. Can we make this merch? So cool. Alright, back to music. Blood, graphic description of violence, death. Peacekeepers intervene. I'm so sorry. 20 pages. Here we go. Sweet. Take the tides, take the wind and rain. A glass pushed away. The brandy splashes out some by the quickness of the motion. Damn it. The quick motion of a man fumbling through his pockets. The comms device that is retrieved. The text messages he sends out before he can think about it further. It is not a drunken mistake. It is a call for help. The first person he messaged arrives the fastest. There's the clang of metallic boots as they enter from the open hallway to the left of Waters' position in the submarine bay. Then there's a sigh and the shifting sound as hinges move and Cam steps out of the Polaris armor. You know, when you said emergency, I thought, oh, never mind, he says, lightly walking over to join Waters at the table. You should really invest in another way to get down here. The water elevators are not really great for tech. That was kind of the point. Security measure? I see. Is it okay that Cam points back at the Polaris armor standing in the hallway with his thumb, but his question is cut off by the copper airlock door opening on the right side of the room. Mira steps in and slowly walks down that shorter hallway until she makes it into a visual of those at the table. She's still in her mourning clothes. When Waters notices that, he turns away to face the table and let the guilt flood over him. The funeral was only a couple of hours ago. How could he be so stupid to do this now? Though it's really not as if he can actually control it. Mira, what are you... Blue Eyes move to the slouched position that Waters has taken, and he thinks, and he asks, Waters, is Feather going to walk through that door next? Are you about to tell us that Elia is still alive? What? No, I have her body. She's dead. Mira interrupts him, her voice cold and empty. She walks further into the room, only to lean against the glass wall and look out into the submarine chamber through it. Okay, Cam looks from Mira to Waters. The knowledge of Mira having Elia's body is new to him, but Waters isn't reacting to it, so he must know already. So what else could it be? Recent conversations come to mind. He thinks of the phone call, of several previous conversations, concerns, and audio logs. He looks at Mira, but leans to Waters so he can whisper, Does she know about... The Wave Seeker, Comet says, entering the room from the still open airlock door. That's a cool... I like that. The Comet would definitely be able to hear a whisper, because, like, they got the hearing, you know? Sorry. Zinnia following closely behind them, but looking around the room in awe. This is Zinnia's first time at SUNC. Let you make a better version? How could you make something better than what you already made? Cam leans back in his seat, and then watches the way Waters tenses up. It basically is confirmation just in that action. This is about the Wave Seeker, isn't it? He speaks louder, no longer a whisper. There's the slightest of nods from Waters to confirm, and Cam shakes his head. He pushes back from the table to stand so he can better address everyone in the room. So, we all know about this? Zinnia raises a hand, stepping to the side of Comet. I don't know about this! What's the Wave Seeker? Cam hesitates. He looks at Waters' back. He can't see his face, but he never really can. There's no easy way to tell how he'd feel about this major issue in his life being spoken of in his presence. Do you want me to pop the Wave Seeker voice changer on and speak her lines when they come up? Nah. It's okay. I mean, if you want, I can put on a voice changer. But, actually, I mean, how many of y'all do we have here? Do you want to voice your own characters for this? I know Cam and Comet are here. Cece's here. Mika's here. Waters. You want to jump into VC and voice your own characters? Oh my god, half of you are here already. The gang's all here. It's 2 a.m. so I can't talk. I'll do the Zinnia ones for you, don't worry. Maybe Mika also can't talk, we'll see. Here's Mika.
I gotta lock in.
Alright, we got everyone. Let me, I'm just gonna turn off the music, it's distracting me, but... Okay.
If you so desire.
Where are we at?
We're at page 2. I mean, I could start... Nah, we don't start at the beginning.
I don't lie.
Page
I'm gonna cringe at myself, so I'm just here to listen.
No!
Where is
Just read
Lord
your-
Tuesday?
all you
No,
chat?
do it.
Sometimes I get lost in the channels.
I'm also sharing my screen if you want to see exactly where we are, but...
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
we're at... Here we go. We're at But It's Comet That Breaks the Silence.
Okay. She's some kind of creator entity for Waters Galaxy, I think. Based on my research, it aligns that the Wave Seeker is likely another title for the Chained Abyss. La Llorona? I never confirmed how to pronounce that, by the way. Lorana? Lorana. Alright, Lorana of the Seas.
Laughter, sourceless, echoing. Ah, that's freaking me out. I'm sorry. Holy. Okay. Sorry, that scared me. Holy shit.
Whoa, talk about Freaky Tuesday.
Freaky Tuesday. Comet's
You don't
grip.
want to know how freaky it gets here.
Okay,
Freak Tuesday, bro.
Continue. Okay.
pack it up. Back in character.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, locked in. Comet's grip tenses on their axe. They entered the space holding it. They've been prepared since they got the message, knowing now what they know.
No, not now.
Waters. He speaks as he stands quickly enough to knock the chair he was sitting on down to hit the floor. He has a hand on the surface of the tank. Where did that... Zinnia speaks, looking around while Waters cuts her off.
Don't acknowledge it. Don't look for her.
Zinnia looks at Waters instead of looking around. There's concern in her eyes. It makes him falter. He takes a deep breath in and lifts the chair back up. Everyone is watching him.
I need you to chain me down.
Freaky Tuesday! Sorry.
Like, oh my god.
Sorry. He says, looking around the room.
Waters. What?
Cam is the first to speak out.
No, this is important. You need to do this for me.
There's a moment where he stops and looks down. He braces himself for this. Everything in him screams to stay quiet, to not say anything, to not do anything. It's been programmed in him to be that way, but he looks around at his friends and he walks to the pile of heavy chains he removed from the submarine docking system.
She's already tried to kill Light, and violence by using me, by controlling me. I will not let that happen here.
He says, picking up a loop of the chain.
So, before she gets one of you, do this for me. I'll try to explain before she makes herself known more.
Cam swipes a hand over his eyes. Comet looks toward the pile of chains, at the preparation it seems like Waters has made before calling any of them over. Zinnia has not stopped looking at Waters. She puts a hand over her mouth, and her eyes speak 1,000 words. Mira is deep in thought. She watches everyone in the room from her position.
The DNA they put in you, in Elia. It was hers, wasn't it? The Wave Seekers. Is that why she couldn't control you?
There's the heavy thump and the rattling of chains as Waters sits back down in the chair he picked up, but now with the chain in hand. He doesn't say anything at first. It's like Zinnia can no longer take the tension in the room. She taps her foot and then moves forward to Waters quickly, wrapping her arms around him. There are tears in her eyes, and they nearly fall onto his shoulder as she rests her face there. What did they do to you? She asks quietly. And he can't respond. He shuts his eyes and wraps one arm around her back.
I'll explain later.
Waters says quietly, more assuredly. Then he looks around the room to the others and speaks louder.
I'll explain everything later.
Then he turns his eyes to Cam, and there's something wordless in the tank staring dead at Cam that has him shut his eyes. He turns around to go to the Polaris armor. He'll need the added strength to move all that chain.
What do we need to know right now?
Comet asks, moving closer so they can help with the chain once Zinnia has moved. They're giving the two of them that moment, giving them time by asking.
The Wave Seeker was the hidden ruler of my planet. I thought she vanished like an anomaly. I watched her disappear, but she is still around. She's been held by Russell's before, but she never comes up on cameras. Push her up, so she's just isn't there.
Slowly, as Zinnia lets go of Waters as he speaks. She wipes her tears away, or tries to, while Waters lets go of the chain, seeing Cam ready in his armor. He uses his free hands to now help her with the tears. He tries to wordlessly assure her it's going to be okay. She seems to get it, nodding lightly and stepping back. It takes a second for Waters to breathe. He stares forward at Zinnia, then turns and nods his head to Cam. Cam takes up the chain that Waters let go of, and Comet moves to the pile on the floor to help drag it over.
Recently, I've been blacking out. I have days when I is foggy or just absent entirely. I thought I was...
There's silence that follows. The chains are cold as they wrap around him. He looks at Mira to not look down at himself.
Marcelo and I made a plan. I would see what I was doing in these times. I installed cameras in the areas I was going to, but I had my senses more, so when we could assess all the information and make a plan if it got bad enough, but then
The clack of the chain tightening on itself. Now he looks down at it. Now he avoids the hurt on Mira's face at the mention of the captain.
well, basically it's gotten bad enough now.
The chain is locked into place. Comet looks at him and nods for him to test the hold. He attempts to push his arms apart and meets the chain's resistance. It'll do.
I don't have a plan. I just don't want to hurt anyone. I want this to stop. I don't want to flood Solus.
Hey, it's okay. We're not gonna let that happen.
Comet assures, a hand dropping to rest on Water's shoulder. He looks at their hand, and he doesn't feel as much of that doubt as he did the first time. But he does feel more fear. Has he doomed them all? A twist of fate, like how quickly after the conversation Marcelo was...
So we question her and get to the bottom of this, or fight her and see what happened. That the plan?
Cam asks, stepping back to the run of the computer units along the wall. There's silence as Waters drops his head. He lets out a short laugh, remembering how much he could prepare in advance for fighting Elia. The only thing he could prepare for this way was a way to stop him from moving. He knows nothing about what Light truly experienced there.
How much your plan is it? I'm sorry. I can't do more for you this time.
He says with a sigh.
I can tell you that I know Light went really still when she spoke to the Wave Seeker. Like, she was frozen. I don't know what she was seeing or hearing, but nothing happened on my cameras.
If we acknowledge the voice, she can enter our minds.
Comet asks, looking towards Zinnia and Mira with concern.
I assume so. I don't know. If it's ever happened to me, I can't remember it.
Waters admits. He shrugs his shoulders and the chains rattle with the motion. He holds still after that. There's a nod, and Comet looks to Cam, then to everyone else in the room. Who is it that speaks here?
Who's talking in here?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, is it me? Oh shit,
it's
sorry. I wasn't sure if it was me or Waters. Okay. Sorry. Okay. If there's anything any of you need to do to prepare for this, do it now. I'd prepare like you're in for a fight. From the way the story ended, she'd be very angry, to say the least.
Cam takes that notice to snap out his bow staff, but he doesn't charge it with electricity yet.
What are the odds of her holding resentment for something that probably took place thousands of years ago?
Comet doesn't say anything in response. They focus on continuing their preparations for the fight, the mental building of armor. Zinnia doesn't really know what to do to prepare for a fight other than to hold some pose, so she just moves to Waters and crouches on the ground to hold his hand. She smiles at him. Is this Zinnia? Okay. It's going to be okay. We're tough. We'll fight for peace. We'll get your peace back, actually. Then we'll keep it. We'll peace keep it. It'll be our peace. Sorry. We'll peace keep it.
Straight up.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Are all of Zinnia's lines like this?
I love it, bro.
Peacekeepers?
It's
Yes.
I like
yes.
the sound of that.
Hey, was I the only one who read this document beforehand?
I read it
I skipped it. I skipped it. I'm
beforehand.
sorry. I didn't have time.
I read it beforehand.
Waters watches the way her hand moves animatedly with her declarations, as she points at the air as if to demand reality itself to bend to this vision of success. He can't help but let out a laugh.
I believe you.
Waters says, and she beams. Mira crosses her arms where she stands leaning against the glass. She's agitated. Maybe. It's seeing the way Zinnia and Waters are. Maybe it's the hurt of memories of Marcelo not being here for this.
Can we just say that we're ready and do this?
She bursts out.
Mira,
Cam starts to say, to explain that this can't be rushed, or calm her down in some way, but Comet raises a hand with a shake of their head.
The Rana.
Comet states into the cold air of the submarine bay, because it worked to catch her attention the first time. Waters squeezes Zinnia's hand and then nods her away. There's that feeling again, a creeping sensation up his spine. He takes a breath in. He fought it last time. This time he gives in. Dim blue lights start to flicker in across his skin, beneath baggy clothes. They aren't super visible, but as they climb up from his legs to his arm, as they light up across the side of his face beneath the helmet, they grow brighter. They glow brighter. Then when he shuts his eyes, he's gone. And the voice fills the space.
Are you bold or stupid?
Comet has been listening. They heard the slowing of Water's heart rate, the dead silence that exists now that the voice speaks. They hear a subtle building of water. It's pouring from underneath that submarine bay door, the one that leads out to the water. But there's another source, a pod of water in the corner of the room. There's a repeated sound like something is banging against the glass. It's quiet from a distance, but it's there. They know where she's forming. They hear it before it's even completed.
Behind him.
Several sets of eyes lift in the room, leaving the glowing light to catch the morphing shape, the breaking of glass. When it spills out, it rolls in a short wave and then rises in one large hand. It slams down like it's making a purchase on the table in the center of the room, to support it pulling up fully into the space like it's leaving a pool. But then it pushes down and the table slips. The floor bends to it. It pushes through the floor like it's tar. It slowly swallows the table whole. The glass of brandy vanished with it. When it's gone, a ripple flows through the space. It can be felt like they're standing on a waterbed. It sends out changes throughout the space. The walls wave, and glass in the walls seem to expand until they're turning into open sea. The center of the room where the table once was is becoming an abyss, bleeding out inky water to climb into the space. It floods the floors beneath them. Zinnia grabs Mira for support. Mira's hand shoots back against the glass to hold them both in place. They're both staring in horror. Waters is still sitting there, next to where the table once was, until the hand lifts, a gentle grasp on him as it drags him, chains and all, into the puddle it came from. "No!" Zinnia calls, shooting a hand out, but Mira grabs her and holds on to her. The room is still moving. The sound of rushing water is so loud now. The glass around them seems to break, but the water doesn't spill in. It just spreads against the walls until the room is leaving them. The inky abyss starts to unmuddy when the seas join it. The deep blue slowly surrounds them. The room expands. There are shipwrecks out there. There are monsters out there. But there is no wave seeker. The seas calm. The floor is no longer moving. When Cam looks around, he sees that the water surrounds them, prevented from falling by some sort of invisible barrier on all sides. There is a deep ocean above them, a seabed beneath them, but they stand on water. There are pillars constructed of water to make the space seem more ornate.
Oh man, we're in Labyrinth Zone.
Cam
I
says,
hated this level.
turning to the others. Mira looks at him like he's lost it, still holding Zinnia.
What are you talking about?
Comet doesn't pay
Sorry, I gotta
attention to
hide
them.
myself there.
They focus their senses on the movement of water around them, but everything in here sounds like it's constantly moving. It's harder to track, harder to tell. They hoist their axe up. Then there's a feeling, a subtle seismic vibration in the water beneath their feet. They catch it at the last second, but the movement they make to move away isn't quite fast enough. There's a snap, like metal, but feels like water.
Ugh.
A cuff with links of watery chains. They pull suddenly, and the force drags against Comet's own strength. They resist it for a moment, and then the force grows stronger, and they fall to their knees. The axe flips in their grip so they can slam the end into the floor and prevent themselves from falling further.
Comet. Oh.
Comet.
I had
Comet!
to go with that one.
Mira shouts,
Comet.
Better. Mira shouts, releasing Zinnia and moving around to try and get a better look at what happened. She sees the chain. It's sourceless once it hits the water's surface, but it's water. She raises her hands and tries to dispel it, to command it to break up. The chain wobbles. It starts to move. Cam drops low with his bow staff out as he scans through the waterbed beneath them. If the wave seeker is made of water and can be water, she could be anywhere in the water around them. How could he tell that for certain?
Is she underneath us?
he asks, in case anyone else is more certain. Zinnia looks around. She wants to do something to help. Cam's looking down, so she'll look up, then around, and finds nothing. She looks forward, and she sees a slowly climbing pillar of water growing in the space some feet away from them. Guys? She starts, immediately calling attention. The group turns their eyes to follow her eyeline as her hands briefly set on either side of her head and then rise spread out into the air. The form of a giant woman, well over 20 feet tall, takes in shape within that pillar. She's looming over them, looking down at them. Her body is encased in dense chains. Her wrists are individually bound in the stuff. There's a bind around her neck, and the links of the chain on that bind sweep up through the eternally floating strands of her hair. The Wave Seeker, in full standing form. Why is she so huge? Zinnia shouts. The Wave Seeker ignores her. Her glowing teal eyes seem to only watch Comet. She tilts her head to the side and then looks away. The focus she takes away from Comet seems to allow Mira more ability to dispel the chain on them.
You read that children's book, didn't you?
Comet lifts their axe, now freed.
So what if I did? It paints you well, doesn't it? You're supposed to be the victim, right?
An intense look through narrowed eyes. Then the growing smile on a large face. She turns her body more to face the group, and her hair sways in a new pattern from the motion.
If I don't have victims here, you're the biggest one, are you not?
The Wave Seeker holds a hand out. She sweeps it through the air with a graceful motion, contrasted by the heavy noise of the chain moving with it. The temperature in the space rises. The water beneath their feet bubbles.
Oh, you poor boy, thing.
Comet's head angles down to the water. There is something tense and haunted in their expression, but even more infinitely angry.
You son of a...
A shot fires through the air. It blasts into the Wave Seeker's face and breaks up the visual like a bullet hole in a canvas. It simply displaces the surface inwards. Then it slowly shifts back into place. No damage. A slow gaze shifts to Cam. He holds his bow staff low in his left hand's grip with his right arm posed up towards her. The fusion cannon has been deployed. He fired the shot.
Great, now I got your attention.
He says, lowering his arm.
You didn't bring us here just to make fun of our trauma. What do you gain from this?
Always the kind of one, slayer of the tides.
Mira looks between Cam and the Wave Seeker, confusion and anger on her expression. She approaches Cam from the side.
What does that mean? Have you met her before?
She asks, gesturing to the giant woman.
I don't know what she's...
The Wave Seeker crosses her arms over her chest and watches them like it's an ever-amusing game. It only agitates Mira further. Her attention redirects, and she turns away from Cam to step closer to the Wave Seeker.
Are you just gonna stand there and talk, or are you gonna actually fight us?
Fight you? Algar Bandit? Is that what you want, little soldier?
Mira lets out an aggravated sound before planting a foot down against the watery floor, sending a ripple out that spins her arms to guide into a wave to slam against the Wave Seeker's legs. It's like that becomes the cue for everyone else to start the fight. Comet follows the wave, a steady march of a path turned into a run. They hold their axe low. The Wave Seeker may be giant, but there are stories about defeating giants. They can be felled with a good strike to the Achilles. Zinnia holds to the back, taking a few steps to the side to stand by Cam. She looks into the depths. There's seaweed, kelp down there. Can she call that up? She starts to focus on it, her veins lighting up with a golden glow. The Wave Seeker takes a step back. The wave has hit her, but she looks down at it and them like they are bugs. Minor inconveniences. Ones she plans to snuff out quickly. She takes the lightly falling crash of the wave and kicks it into a tidal wave back towards the group. It's practically a tsunami. It would crush them. Cam realizes this quickly, grabbing onto Zinnia and flying them up above the wave. Mira realizes it as well, but she sees Comet still charging ahead in front of her, so runs to them. Wait! She shouts as she's... Oh, that was... sorry, I thought that was Zinnia.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Go! Okay.
Wait!
She shouts as she slides slow to place her palm on the surface of the water beneath their feet. When she lifts her arm to the water climbs through the air. It surrounds them in a dome. Comet stands still as the dome forms. It's a thin layer of water. The tide that rushes towards them is larger, denser. They move as much as they can in the dome to put their back to the wave, so that they can shield over Mira, in case the dome doesn't hold up.
Brace for impact.
They say, but it's barely heard over the sound of the ocean screaming. It crashes into them. Comet plants their boots firmly into the ground to hold their position, but they can feel that it's pushing them. The wave is large, enough that it's encased over the dome. The darkness that is plunged into the half-circle of air makes it much more impossible for Comet to see anything at all. Above them, Zinnia moves in Cam's grasp. She's looking around for where the other two disappeared. This is Zinnia, right?
Yes.
Fly a little closer! Cam watches the way she points down into the still intense, crashing wave. Getting anywhere near to the water the wave seeker has already shown control over is a risky play, but he looks at the desperate look in Zinnia's eyes and he sighs.
All right. Got a plan?
Something like that, she says quickly in response. When he lowers them closer to the water, she extends out her palms. The gold that shimmers through her veins glows brighter. Her eyes start to shine with it. It looks like it takes significant effort. She strains against some sort of invisible weight. Then she shuts her eyes. Up! She shouts. Cam doesn't even question it this time. He just propels them back up into the air, fast. There's a loud noise that bellows out beneath the waves as they rise. He looks around for it. Is it one of those sea monsters? But then it breaks the surface of the waves. Green and dense. It blooms out like a flower in spring, sped up. The waves spill from it like small waterfalls. It's massive. It's seaweed? There's a dome of water in the center of it. It's like the seaweed flattened out at the top as a platform to support it. Comet and Mira stand in the middle of it. The dome disperses and Mira breathes heavily from the exertion it took to maintain it. Comet sets a hand on her shoulder as thanks before looking around at their new situation. The wave seeker's face is much closer now. There's an expression on her ever-oceanic face that reads of disgust. She's looking at them. The echoey voice mutters out. Then her eyes slowly shift from the mass of seaweed to the one who created it. No. No, no, no. The wave seeker's large hand lifts to move towards Cam and Zinnia, like she's going to grab them straight out of the air.
Shit.
Cam says, moving to fly backwards. But the hand is getting closer. It's large, but moves quickly.
No!
Mira shouts. She screams. The watery hand breaks up before it can grab Cam and Zinnia, and Comet looks towards Mira. There's a faint vibration in the air. It leads to Mira. Mira broke the hand, and the wave seeker is not happy about that.
Mira!
Comet quickly says, tries to warn, but it's too late. The droplets of water still left on the seaweed condense underneath Mira's form. Then they shoot up quickly like the blades on a spike trap. They shoot into her body, shoot through, piercing her. She takes a gasp of breath. In. She bleeds. Comet rushes to her. They try to grab the spikes, but their hands slide through them like it's water coming out of a faucet. It is not solidified.
Mira! Mira! Focus on me!
They speak quickly. What can they do? How can they stop this? Help this? The spikes release into empty water. Mira cannot support herself anymore without them. She falls into Comet's arms. The blood spills out more without the spikes holding it all in. She's dying. Mira? What happened to Mira? Zinnia moves in Cam's arms to try and get a better look. Cam is still looking at the partially destroyed hand spilling water into the open ocean beneath them. That was close. Too close. Cam! Zinnia starts to say. We have to get over there! That snaps Cam out of it. He takes a breath in and shakes himself to look where Zinnia is pointing. He watches as one of the seaweed leaves unfurls towards them, then another joins it. It slowly builds itself into a firm bridge to fill the gap between them and the others. He flies to it. He lands on it. Zinnia leaves him the second he does. She runs to Comet and Mira. Comet rotates Mira so they can see the wounds, see where to apply pressure. There's so many exit wounds. They hold the most vital one, a spear that went through the chest. The rage lights flames deep in their soul, the pained expression on Mira's face.
Is this all you're good for?
They shout suddenly, raising their head towards the wave seeker.
Taking things? Ships? Lives? Planets? How many did you actually eat? Doesn't matter, does it? You'll never be whole again.
There is silence. Then the feeling of the whole room shaking from the force of an unknown impact. A giant sea monster slams itself against one of the walls that maintains the air pocket in this space. It shouldn't crack. It's not glass, but there's a crack forming. It's shattering across the surface. The monster slams its head into the surface repeatedly. It's bleeding. It doesn't stop.
Did you see?
apply pressure here.
Comet angles their head towards Zinnia quickly. Okay. Zinnia nearly panics, but moves closer and does exactly what Comet asks. Hey, Mira, it's gonna be okay. The Wave Seeker is moving now. She's leaning down towards them. Comet flips the axe in their hold, but keeps it at their side. They're holding the position, biding time, just waiting for her to get close enough.
Do you think you have any right to speak of matters that have nothing to do with you?
Cam watches the Wave Seeker slowly tilting her head closer and closer towards their platform. He watches Comet standing at the edge of the seaweed branches, waiting to meet her. He's concerned. He doesn't know the plan. He doesn't want anyone else to go down, but he has to trust that Comet has this. With a quick breath out, he moves towards Zinnia and Mira. He puts himself in front of them and raises both his arms. He deploys the bubble shield built into his suit's protection system. He covers it over the three of them, and he watches Comet.
My story predates you by a dozen millennia. You only read about it in a book.
The opening. There is no pulse that beats in the heart of this monster. There may not be even be a heart at all, but there is something. A waterfall can only fall. It cannot fall without the source, without a cliff's edge to grant it height for the spill, without a head to grant it a shoulder. Comet grabs onto a free-floating strand of the Wave Seeker's hair. There's actual structure. They're able to pull and drag the Wave Seeker further down. She stumbles, not expecting the action. As she falls, Comet adjusts their hold onto her hair. Like it's a rope, they're dragging to the end of it. Then they get to the top. The Wave Seeker's head is slammed against the bed of seaweed. It shakes with impact. It may not hold up long beyond this, but it will hold up long enough. They take their axe and they slam the blade into her large blue throat. They push. They have to angle and shift the blade so that it will cover more of the surface area. It cuts, and the water spills against their feet. It flows out endlessly. The platform is getting weighed down by it, but they keep pressing the blade in. The platform is dipping down where they stand. They're going to fall soon, both of them. Then the blade meets no resistance. It's made it through. But the platform is at its limit. When the body falls, it sends dense waves that crash into the standing pillar of seaweed. It cannot withstand that amount of force. It tumbles, it falls. Comet falls with it. All of them fall to the seabed. It meets them with no amount of softness, a fall of over 20 feet in height. The water that had fallen with Comet did not break up the fall well. The pain ripples through their body, even though they tried to brace for it. On Cam's end, the bubble held up, enough to where he can dispel it so they aren't continuing to tumble through the space. They spun while falling. It was disorienting. Zinnia was screaming. Mira was silent. He turns towards them, but Mira is not there. Zinnia is patting the ocean floor like she's looking for something. There's a look of horror in her eyes.
What happened? Where's Mira?
He moves towards Zinnia, putting a gauntlet-clad hand on her shoulder so she can focus on something. I don't know. I was holding pressure and she melted and then she just... Zinnia looks to the water beneath them again. Cam looks as well, but it doesn't look any different to the water everywhere else in this room.
Melted?
Sorry, the delivery was great. He repeats for clarity. She turned into water and slipped through my fingers. Zinnia tries to explain. She's confused, terrified. I tried to catch her.
It's okay. It's okay, Zinnia.
Cam speaks calm but quickly. He's thinking. The room that they were in, it changed from SUNC to whatever this place is. It also had a melting away effect. There aren't feelings of anything from the room, so it's not like the space only visually changed. If it had, they would be hitting walls left and right. That room was not large. When something melts away, where does it go? If it melted away here in the first time around, would that apply the same going back?
Comet!
Cam shouts, turning to look around for them. He didn't see them while they were falling. He sees them now, standing up, a distance of about 30 feet away now. What are the... Oh, sorry.
What are... That's my line. Hey.
Sorry.
What are the odds of the mind prison idea being more accurate than we thought?
Comet stands, running their forearm over closed eyelids to clear away the water. They tilt their head around. They listen for any more movement in the seas. It can't end that easily. There's a feeling deep in them, something not sated.
We can't test that theory right now. There's still no way of knowing what happened to Mira, but we're still in this now, so stay on alert.
They say firmly, walking closer.
We'll deal with it later.
The slow motion to release Zinnia, the slow shifting of gaze, scanning the interior of the room. He stands fully, retrieving the bow staff again to hold it at the ready to match Comet's own prepared stance.
Of course it wouldn't be over. Yeah, I don't know why I thought a full-on decapitation would do it.
He says with a sigh.
Do we even know if defeating her would get rid of her at this point?
There's a short laugh. A rage Comet can't fend off. The funeral wasn't even 24 hours ago, and already, like some sort of sick twist of fate, reality intends to take more. Real or a mind game. It doesn't matter. It's unforgivable.
No, but I'm not gonna let her get away with killing us.
Cam watches Comet, then he turns his eyes to Zinnia, who wipes away her own tears, but stands. She tries to be brave, her features pressed together with determination. She has her fists braced like she's going to start throwing punches. She shouldn't have had to witness that. She shouldn't have had to fight like her life depends on it.
Fair point.
Comet's head snaps to a sound in the water. The suddenness of the motion has Cam go quiet. He immediately watches the same spot, even though he can't see what they're hearing. There is a slight movement, a deep, slow-moving shadow beneath the depths. But is that... Behind them, Zinnia feels a shiver go up her spine. She looks around for the source. There was a feeling like hands on her shoulders. She thought she was still feeling it from Cam's gauntlets. They were cold, but then the ground felt like it moved on its own, like something pushed her. Guys, can the Wave Seeker turn invisible? She calls out, her eyes frantically looking around and fists raised higher. Comet pulls their attention from the movement in the ocean. It takes effort, but they manage to look at Zinnia. They listen carefully, but don't hear movement by Zinnia. There's no sounds around Zinnia besides her erratic heart rate and the faint dripping of water.
Zinnia, what do you feel?
A shout, fists flying. Zinnia is falling. And then she becomes water. She splashes against the floor. She joins the endless sea. She's gone.
Damn it!
Comet shouts. Cam looks back. He focuses on his breathing. It's just a mind game, just a mind game. He focuses on what he can deal with. That spot the Comet was watching earlier. It is moving now, visibly. The shape of the Wave Seeker, smaller, more to a normal height. At first, there's one of her. Then there are two, then three. She starts to outnumber them. Can she control them all individually? Is only one the true one?
Oh no, that's me. Fuck.
Yeah, dumbass.
I'm sorry, I saw a
Damn.
comment and then I thought you were...
I'm
okay,
joking, I'm
shut up. Shut up. Also, who's this fucking clown in here? Get him out of here.
Is
Yeah,
violence
what the
in
fuck are you doing here?
What are you
Violence,
doing
get out of
here?
here!
Don't interrupt our table.
Get outta here.
Ah. Okay. Stay alert.
He reminds Comet of their own words before lighting up the electricity on his staff and rushing forward. A quick movement, propelled across the water by the jet functionality of his boots, heading directly for one of the Wave Seekers. He slams the bow staff into her head. It passes through the watery surface, but the electricity charges through the body visibly. It sparks. She screams. One clone broken up. Comet shakes themselves clear of the mental visual, of Zinnia vanishing before them. They strike their axe against the air, commanding their strength back. Then they turn to the nearest clone to their position. What's another head taken, really? Cam is in the center of the mass of Wave Seeker clones. It's a position he put himself in. If the electricity was effective on one, it's his most advantageous position to use it on more. He moves around the crowd, whacking them left and right. When one comes at him with a blade of water, he shoots up above them and plants a shock pad from his other hand onto the top of their head. The water that splashes when they break up hits his armor. He feels it slip through a crack, dampen his shirt. It's fine. It'll be fine. Just get through them. Find one. Question her. He catches his breath in a landing position, watching more of them approach. Waiting, holding position. Then standing fully and weaving back from a blade that slices towards him. He can't avoid the blade that slices at his suit from behind. He steps into it unintentionally. Swinging the bow staff around, he hits that clone enough to take it out. The blade disperses with it. He holds his side. It bleeds now.
Oh, god damn it.
Comet slashes one of the Wave Seeker clones in half with their axe. They look up at the sound of the laughter. It came from everywhere in the room. The water is moving everywhere now. Effect of destroying all of the clones? Was this planned? Dense, quick motion. The water parts. It parts beneath Cam's feet. He tries to hold himself steady, but he watches the giant fingers curled close in around him. He lets go of his side, fires up his boots to fly out, get out of this. But it's like a bubble popping in reverse. It snaps around the gaps. Cam slams his arm against it. He tries to break the barrier, but it bends instead of breaks. The Wave Seeker's face rises, emerging from the water next to her large hand. It's just half her face, large glowing eyes and tendrils of hair. She's still laughing. Comet watches, walking, then sprinting. There are still clones on the ground in between them. Those large eyes turn to Comet. The Wave Seeker watches their efforts, watches them fight to get to them, to get to Cam. Slowly, she curls her fingers in, a slow, crushing motion. From the top, the bubble snaps in place against her fingers, her fingertips becoming waterfalls. They spill out into the bubble. They fill it, drown it. Cam stays flying, but with the ceiling and floor bending down against him, he's running out of space to run to avoid it.
Don't you dare.
Comet practically growls out the words, that visceral monster within pulling to the surface. It meets the face of another monster.
Come to us, Deuces.
A snap. The dome is filled. Cam watches emergency screens pop up in his visor. He feels the weight of water pressing against the armor, weighing it down into flesh. He feels the water break through the seams in the suit. He meant to make it airtight. It isn't. And Comet watches.
Is that what it takes to make you big?
A twitch. A contortion.
What? What?
The bubble releases. It spills water out like a broken snow globe, but Cam does not leave with the water. He is not there. A footstep. A movement slow and calculated.
When I look at you, all I see is a coward.
Comet speaks. Or do many.
A god? You are not that. You are not anything. You would have been reduced to nothing, if not for a single book of fiction.
The Wave Seeker's face rises out of the water more. Her large hand and arm sinks down, displacing water, but it does not falter Comet's forward momentum. They've adapted to the motion. They move naturally within it, against it.
It's in the nature of water to adapt, but yet you can't.
Comet slams their foot down against the wave that approaches them and it pushes back. It flows back towards the Wave Seeker. She lifts up faster and looks down at the approaching wave with confusion, the amusement fading away.
That will be your undoing.
Comet grips their axe tighter. They lift it high, then they slam it hard into the seafloor, and the floor cracks. A shout, a shriek, then a blink, and the yell is leaving their mouth into an echoing space. The sound of water everywhere has faded. Their splashes, dripping, several heartbeats. The interior of the submarine bay at SUNC, several hours from dawn. They're out. They're alive. All of them. But can they really say that they won? Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. Just kidding, we live.
Peacekeepers are real!
Yeah, whoopsies. Earlier I said, spoiler alert, we all die.
Crushed under the weight of his
The
swag
amount of-
got me.
Peepers assemble.
We're all wet. Hi, Ross.
L Comet moment. Violence
L
as if.
Comet.
Okay,
Well,
let's
okay.
just say for the record, Comet has gone 2 for 2 on fighting God, and that's just this era, dude. Fucking Gatsby when he was shaped lost and turning into Gabriel, and then fucking Wave Seeker. Comet survived out of all of them and was it survived and probably would have done more damage had
All right, final boss. Comet v Freya.
it not happened. But also, look, Oh god, Comet would rather die. Or Comet would rather die than do a lot of things. That's not saying a lot if they're suicidal. But
Comet would rather live?
but
Comet v. Omen.
Mm.
Comet v. Friedrich.
oh that would be scary. Unstoppable force versus immovable object.
Comet v. Therapy.
Therapy.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, well,
There are
thank
some
you.
things there are some battles that Comet will not win, and that's one of them.
Well, thank you all for voicing that. That was great. Thank you, Myth, for writing that, and CC for the incredible art we're seeing on stream right now.
Comet versus healthy relationships.
Oh, can violence actually even take anyone from the Peacekeepers? I mean, come on.
Ross, it sounds like you just want Ada to get beat up by Comet. Me too.
If Ada
so
does something to piss Comet off, then yeah. I mean, I don't think Comet has like fought like regular people in such a long time, so I can imagine them gearing up for like a battle against like they're used to fighting God at this point, and then they accidentally kill the person in one blow, and they feel immense regret. Anyways,
New character for next season idea: somebody who just dies instantly by Comet's hit.
All right, I'm gonna keep going with
what I'm learning is that a lot of people want to get killed by Comet.
I mean, who wouldn't? All right. Thank you all for voicing. I only have a few things left. My voice is starting to like go, so I want to get through it all. You can sit in here if you want still, but
I'm gonna go, but thank you for having
I don't want to be distracting.
us.
none of you are distracting.
Yeah.
All right. Next. Goodbye, everyone.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Next up is an outside perspective from Light. Light could be found in the dining hall of SUNC. She still wore her mourning clothes from Marcello's funeral that happened hours earlier. She hadn't had the energy to change her clothes. This was the second funeral the dragon had attended, and there was another she planned to attend tomorrow. No, it was today, technically. Gods above, why does all of this have to be so exhausting? She deals with death, with spirits, with funerals. Gods above, she was the one who had buried and performed the funeral rites of hundreds of people back on her home planet. Light was all too familiar with death. She should be used to all of this, but maybe she wanted Solace to be a place where she didn't need to experience more of it, where she could heal and live a happy life, where she didn't need to die or watch people die. Fate is truly a cruel being, weaving her tapestries and writing her stories with a care for the people who had to live within them. Those thoughts, they were Light out, rattling in her mind and tiring her so. It's what had brought her to be staring into a mug of tea that had long since grown cold, sitting in a booth within SUNC's dining hall. The dragon thought of Freya, shell-shocked and half-covered in Eclipse's blood. She thought of Mira, whose anger and grief was making her lash out at people that could help her through her pain and loss. Of Marcello, a man who did everything he could to help and protect the people of Solace, only to not be protected when it mattered most. Oh. That sentence hurts a little bit. Oh man. Whew. Okay. Then her mind wandered to Okul. The warden had spent a long time. Let me turn the music back on. The warden had spent a long time trying to prove herself, to take over a planet she thought was promised to her. Light has spent months being angry with Okul, wanting her to die for killing Balios. Now that the warden was dead, she felt numb, even sad. Light doubted many would grieve for Okul. Some may even celebrate that she is dead, or ignore it entirely. She wouldn't. Someone had to grieve for the fallen warden. No way Light is, like, feeling bad for Okul. No way. She's too, like... Girl. Okul killed Balios. Okul did so much terrible stuff. Don't gloss over those scary eyes. I'm scary now. Are you saying my eyes are scary? Oh, it's the flash. Oh. The video is called Pain Changes People. Sorry, I was looking for like piano music to play. Friedrich? Dude. I was literally. Okay, that's Virgil who said that. Please. Please give them all power armor. Please, I beg you. It would be so cool. It would be so cool. I was about to say earlier that it's just a shame that Marcelo died because I would have loved to see him join the Peacekeeper group and like have his power armor and his sword. It'd be so cool. We're so back, but we're actually not. It's so over. First line of the Wave Seeker, I did forget her accent, but the rest of it got all the way through. I didn't even notice. I mean, I forget who was it that said that, like, the plan is to hopefully have the Peacekeepers, like, work with Friedrich, you know? So, Virgil, there you go. You have a whole group of people. You were talking about, I need people to, like, have Friedrich interact with regularly. There you go. You got Waters, you got Xenia, you got Mira, you got, Cam. Who am I missing? Comet! Okay, here we go. To remember her and carry on her story. I'm sure I'm gonna get a long message from Light about how, like, every time I'm like, there's no way Light would feel this way. Light, like, explains it so nicely in DMs of, like, here's the reasoning. Oh yeah, there you are. Light doesn't forgive Okul. She just wants to mourn the wording because she knew few else would. That's fair. I guess, yeah. To remember her and carry on her story. Light sighed and pushed the mug away. She stood up and stretched. The dragon felt the need to check on her dad. After all, it was only hours earlier that he had to attend a funeral of someone he could call a friend. The dragon walked through the halls, heading towards the submarine bay. As she drew near, she grew more alert. Eventually, she had to stop walking entirely just on the other side of the copper door. The energy felt off. Wrong in a familiar way that had made Light's guard go up. With a flick of her wrist, a dagger was in her hand. As silently as she could, Light opened the door and stepped inside. She crept forward, taking care to keep her movements quiet. She looked into the room, her face turned pale and her ears lowered. The dragon looked around the room and saw Comet, Cam, Zinnia, and Mira. All of them were frozen still as if in a trance. Oh, gods, no, she whispered as her eyes widened. It was just like what happened in the footage, when she had spoken to the Wave Seeker. She moved further into the room. It was then that she got a better look at Mira. A spear of water stuck out of Mira's body. Shit, Light whispered as she rushed closer to the judge. She pressed a gentle hand against her body, sending a wave of magic through the younger woman's body to check the internal damage. Besides the literal spear through Mira's body, it had hit vital areas. Light knew, Oh, I see. The internal damage besides the... Anyway. Light knew that the only reason Mira wasn't dead was because of the spear remaining within her body. It was keeping her from bleeding out. If it was to be pulled out, gods above. Light didn't even want to think of what could have happened. The dragon risked a glance over her shoulder towards Waters. He hadn't moved, not even when she'd gone over to Mira. Light had to take the risk. She didn't know what the Wave Seeker was doing, nor did she know what Waters would do if she was to interfere, but she had to help Mira first. Why wouldn't Waters communicate with Light about what you're gonna do here? She's freaked out. The dragon turned away and focused back on the judge. The glow in her eyes brightened as she held one hand just underneath the water spear, flooding it with her magic so she could control it. Slowly, inch by inch, Light had the spear pull itself out. At the same time, with her other hand, she sent healing magic in. She reconnected arteries and veins, stitched muscles back together, mending every vital area. The dragon took her time and didn't rush it. She couldn't afford any mistakes with this. With the two simultaneous spells, Light's nose started to bleed. She ignored it. Once Mira was fully healed, Light stepped back and took a moment to wipe the blood from her nose. As she did so, the judge awoke from the dream. She panicked, a reaction Light couldn't fault her for, given how close she was to dying. The judge mumbled, "Not real," under her breath as she checked the Light area had just healed. That was what snapped her into reality. Mira went to direct Light to be careful, but the older woman held a finger up to signal her younger lady not to speak. The dragon didn't want to risk drawing attention if they spoke. Light wasn't 100% sure what could draw the Wave Seeker's attention, but she wasn't about to test the limits. The older woman turned her attention to Zinnia, moving over to her. Light caught Mira drawing water to herself. She guessed that the judge was going to use it to attempt to wake up Zinnia. Light stepped out of the way to let it happen, letting her blast Zinnia with the water. That attempt didn't work. The dragon thought about what had happened to her. She had to fall to get out of the Wave Seeker's hold. Maybe this might work the same with Zinnia. Light gestured for Mira to get behind Zinnia to get ready to catch the young girl. Once Mira was in position, Light pushed Zinnia, making her stumble and fall into Mira's arms. Thank the gods it worked. Zinnia sprang to awareness, ready— So wait! Light and Mira were like bringing, like, the ones taking people away? Because that's really funny. Bad time to check up on him, or good time actually? Best time. They would not have lived without that. Split-section decision. He figured Ceros would warn anyone in the facility of danger was detected. A Wave Seeker basically temporarily killed Ceros? No! Not Ceros. I love Ceros. Zinnia sprang to awareness, ready to start fighting again before she realized that she wasn't in the domain anymore. Domain expansion! What? The young girl asked as she looked around. Light was about to gesture to Zinnia to be quiet when she felt water around her ankles. She turned towards the door leading to the ocean. It had been forced open and seawater was now moving inside. Her gaze followed the current of water and saw that Waters was pulling it towards him, readying it in an attack against Cam. She snarled a curse as it was pushed against Cam, knocking him over. She could tell from the way he moved that he had come too. She turned to Mira and Zinnia, her eyes wide and the feathers on her wings puffing up. You two get Comet, wake them up, she ordered, her voice firm and surprisingly steady despite the situation. Light watched as Mira nodded. Zinnia, well, she dove at Comet. The dragon had to pause for a split-second process that a girl 3 inches taller than her had practically dove headfirst at Comet. Then she promptly gave up questioning these things. Solace, and by extension its people, was weird as it stood. That's the truest sentence ever spoken, man. Light left them to handle Comet. She turned her focus to Waters. The dragon had to restrain him somehow. She took a sharp breath and walked over to her dad. Light didn't want to hurt him, but she didn't know what to do. What could the dragon do? Chain him? The only available chains she had access to were broken. Then an idea struck her. She shifted into her dragon form. It wasn't her full size, but it was large enough to tower over everyone while not taking up too much room at the same time. It was large enough to wrap around Waters several times. It was tight enough to bind him, but loose enough to where the hold still allowed him to breathe. Once Waters was bound and unable to make any movements she wouldn't feel, Light looked towards the others. Cam was certainly up now. He had moved closer to Comet as if to help Mira and Zinnia to wake the warden up. The dragon noticed that Cam had a spike through his side. From her observation, it wasn't fatal, but he was bleeding. Mira had slapped Comet, shook them, and splashed them with water. Zinnia had thrown her weight at the warden, splashed them with water, and was currently shaking their arm. Suddenly, Comet awoke with a yell. They breathed heavily, as if they had just awoken from a nightmare. Light would consider spending any amount of time within the Wave Seeker's domain a nightmare, so she couldn't blame Comet for their reaction. She looked all of them over, noting injuries she could see on each individual. The dragon intended to check the injuries she had healed on Mira, just to make sure there wasn't any internal damage she missed. Light looked at her dad, debating on what to do. Everyone was out of the Wave Seeker's domain. Maybe she could— The dragon slowly unwrapped herself from around Waters. Then she returned to her humanoid form. She could sense the tension go up, but nothing happened. Waters stood there, straight as a board, with an ominous aura around him. Everyone braced for an attack that never came. They watched as the glow in his skin started to fade, as the light in his eyes dim. Then he pitched forward. Light ran over and caught her dad before he hit the floor, cradling him in her arms. She dragged him to sit against a wall. The dragon turned and walked over to Cam. She hadn't realized that she was moving quietly until she accidentally startled the man. Light held up her hands and waited for Cam to calm down. I need to heal your wound, she said softly as she gestured to the spike sticking out of Cam's side. Cam blinked, then looked down at his side. Oh shit, how'd that get there? He said. Light shook her head, silently marveling at how adrenaline could keep people from noticing injuries. She moved closer and placed one hand just above the wound, pressing against Cam's body. Her other hand hovered just below the water spike. Just as she did with Mira, she used her magic to pull the spike out of Cam while simultaneously healing the wound at the same time. Once she was done, her nose was bleeding again. She looked exhausted from all the magic she had extended. Light knew she would have to extend more for the others. The dragon stepped away from Cam, stumbling a bit. She turned away and walked back to her dad. Her hands trembled as she knelt down and picked up Waters. The dragon looked at the others. "Follow me. I'll take you to the medical bay," she said as she moved towards the door. She looked over her shoulders towards the others, her gaze holding a firm look. "I'll look over your injuries. Then we need to have a talk." Light's gonna chew them all out, as they deserve. Why have I been pinged? What have I been pinged for? That's great. What the heck? What? Dude, my eyes are like actually huge. What the hell? They're like circles. You know, people always talk about like, oh yeah, you know, big eyes are so cute. They're not. They're freaky. My eyes are really... See how wide I am. I did. I saw... Oh, I've been pinged in memes too. Freya eats her chair. Lemoncello. Oh my god. It's Lemoncello. White chocolate! Accurate to how I draw Freya is so true. It's total self-insert. Okay, wait, where's the... wait, no, there was a SMP general. Yeah, I saw how white you are. No, it's not in here. Where the heck? Whatever. Life for certain chewed all of them out for not at least giving her heads up that this shit is happening. Yeah, I'd be mad too. Alright, now we just have 4 more things. And I get to go to bed. The walk to the Keepers of Solace. Oh, this is preparation, stress, this is Kron, I think? The creatures are speaking fluent Irish to each other, hence the perfect English of the Kron. Wasn't gonna bother writing it all out, just to do translations anyway. The walk to the Keepers of Solace, through snow and forests, across rivers and bogs, was slow and silent, cautious with the cargo their father held. Kron walked beside him, adjusting the grip on the materials they were carrying for their destination. Well, some of the materials. Croy had the majority tucked within his chest, but Kron had insisted on helping somehow, so the ghost let them hold a few bits. Earlier that day, they both had already been in the event hall, setting up food, tables, drinks, general stuff for a celebration. Croy kept staring up at the stage often, however, fiddling with the curtain. He didn't seem to know if he wanted it to be open or closed. Kron was later told by the ghost the reason for it being related to the original purpose of the building, Balios' execution. Croy admitted he wished they could use a different place, but he didn't know who would allow it. It was a miracle they were just about allowed to use the hall at all. They both took a break after that, went back to the cabin to cook some more different foods, since Kron had mentioned Frog not eating meat. It was just a precaution in case she would come. In case anyone would come, really. Croy had his quiet doubts, but kept up a bit of hope for Kron's sake. Did they not finish the walls? Kron pointed out with a small tug on Croy's arm and a gesture to the scaffolding that surrounded the empty gravesite they began to enter. Croy's silence carried on for a moment longer before giving a small shrug, his head turning down to face his son. Suppose not. That is all right. I can finish them later on. We have time. You mean we can finish them? A little hopeful look shone behind their mask, their hands clasping together while the stuff they carried were hastily tucked under their arm. A hammer fell to the ground, but they ignored it, even as it came dangerously close to landing on their hoof. Kron lit up as they heard the sigh combined with a laugh escape the ghost, who freed his hand to ruffle the top of Kron's head, combing through their fringe for a moment. Okay. We can finish them together later on. With a quick and quiet celebration, Kron continued to follow his father in through the unfinished walls of the graveyard, picking out a clear spot to settle. It was beneath 2 cherry trees with a lantern hanging from one of them. Its land was level too, and the soil was soft enough to dig, but packed together just right so that the grave wouldn't collapse in on itself once dug. Hammers banged against nails, mallets and chiseled, creating joints to slot together, the wooden planks of spruce and dark oak building up into a larger than regular coffin with a lid to match. A plaque of metal nailed to the top with her name engraved and cushioning placed within it, and it was all ready. And soon the general, hair brushed and injuries cleaned, was settled into it, her hands arranged to hold her sword. She looks like a knight statue, Kron commented, tilting their head from where they knelt beside her. Their gaze stared at the yellow tufts that framed her horns and the top of her head like a flower crown. They wondered if the ruler of guilt made that for her. Dude, I'm so sad about Okul being dead. I'm so sad. I love Okul. They stood and stepped back, allowing Croy to secure the lid over the coffin, just after taking a moment to silently say goodbye, to adjust the warden's clothes as if to make sure she was comfortable. And soon he was lowering the secured coffin down into the large hole, pushing dirt shovelful by shovelful until he leveled the ground to be flush with the rest. Croy stepped back to be beside his son, both staring at the grave, marked with a small headstone and podzol mixed with regular dirt, leaving a patchy rectangular shape above it. Croy appeared to be finished, but Kron was confused. They crossed their arms, their eyes darting between the ghost and the supposedly finished grave with uncertainty before finally speaking up. That's it? Mm-hmm. It is finished now. I have a candle and a flower that we can leave upon it later if you wish to. Croy's answer was soft, but it didn't feel final. It didn't sound like he was sure of his answer himself. Kron stared back at the grave again, eyes narrowing at the headstone. It was small, too small compared to what they knew Croy had built before for other graves. Why was it just a slap tall? Slap? It's not as big as Mr. Skullhammer's. The small comment caused the air around the ghost to grow stiffer. The breeze and rustling around them growing quieter. A hesitant silence before an answer was given. I know. It's not as big as the God of Tales one either. I know. Kron didn't understand. If Croy knew, why wasn't he making it bigger? Didn't he care for Okul? Shouldn't he want to make it bigger? They had the stuff for it. They could do it. Kron could help. They could always help, or at least try. They took a step forward and picked up a chisel, moving in front of Croy's line of sight with their other hand on their hip. A determined frown etched their expression beneath their mask. Then let's make it bigger. We have the stuff. Come on, Dad, let's... I cannot. Their determination dimmed to confusion. Their raised hand, which was wielding the chisel like a sword they were going to use to charge into battle, lowering down to their side. They hurried up to stand closer. Their shoulders bunched up with a few confused noises before they found their words. Why not? You liked her. You liked God of Tales. You liked Mr. Skullhammer. Why wouldn't you make something like those? Because others do not like her, Kron. They will destroy the grave, and I would much rather her have this pathetic thing than a pile of rubble every day. Ah. Now Kron understood. They fell quiet as their attention flicked to Croy's outstretched arm that gestured to the grave, his words repeating in their head as they recognized the tone, noticed the way his voice slightly cracked at the word pathetic. They heard the ghost take a breath, his arm retracting so that he could rest his face into the palm of that hand, muttering against it as the pads of his fingers massaged the sides of his head. Parking lot? Parking lot. I would have built something better in Frostfire. That would have been a place she would actually want her body to be. But with the snowstorms, it would get buried, and the soil would be too weak, and the stone would sink. The snow would wear away the writing far quicker than rain, and if the snowfall is really heavy, it could break the headstone altogether. He let out a frustrated noise into his hand, his finger curling like claws and digging into his skin. Kron knew it couldn't hurt him. They knew Croy couldn't get hurt, but they don't like imagining him trying to. They grasped onto his wrist and gently pulled it away from his face, before clasping the larger hand in both of their own, squeezing. A pumping motion like before. Croy didn't resist. He just watched them do this before exhaling heavily, his other arm wrapping around their shoulders and bringing them into a sideways hug. I'm sorry, Kron. I hate these kinds of things sometimes. It is frustrating. Gives me a headache, I guess. A brief quiet returned before it was interrupted by a small snort, the tension seeming to have lightened a bit, but it was sort of still there. Kron could feel it in his dad's fingers. I do not even know why I'm worrying so much about it. I doubt many will come, and if they do, they might just be there to disrespect her, completely ignoring what I asked in the notice. Gods, if Mira shows up, I do not know what I will do. It doesn't matter right now, Kron interrupted, giving Croy's hand a longer squeeze this time, before their thumbs moved to trace circles on his palm. They could just about see the lines and details there, those little details of humanity in Kron's eyes. They shifted and rested their back against Croy's chest, returning their head up to look at him, their mask partly lifted to reveal the reassuring smile they offered. And if no one comes, then it'll be me and you here for her. She wouldn't really want anything else, I don't think. Croy just stared back for a moment longer, his arm shifting to wrap loosely around his son's stomach, almost like a shield of protection, but a warmth Kron could just about feel. He finally nodded, offering a smile of his own that Kron could just about see. The ghost's mouth wasn't as much as a gaping hole anymore, face not just a mask of nothing. Yeah, you're right. She is miserable enough being stuck here. I do not think she would want a fuss being made here. After a few more minutes of just embracing each other, they both pulled away from each other at the same time, Kron turning to watch Croy pick up stone while they adjusted their mask. The excitement returned to Kron's body when their dad gestured to the scaffolding wall. Are you ready to finish them up now then, Kron? I love Kron and Croy wholesomeness. More of this, please. This is a comms device. For those who recognize the format, this is comms device communications from Freya. Hey, Comet, could I ask you a favor? Of course. What do you need? I'll tell you in person. I'll be at the library in a few minutes. All right, I'll see you then. And to Ladice. Hey, Ladice, I know you're isolating with the rest of Talisker Sky, but I need a favor from you. Last thing, I promise. What is it? I'd rather talk in person. Is that okay? Just tell me where to meet. I'll come to you. You guys have no idea. Somewhere in a hidden corner of the community center, crumpled and sitting in the bottom of a wastebasket, lies a letter never sent to its intended recipient. A letter unsent. This is Ada. Freya's up to something. Evil laughter. Yeah, I wonder if, perhaps Thursday or Friday, something will happen. Maybe. Somewhere in a hidden corner of the community center, crumpled and sitting in the bottom of a wastebasket, lies a letter never sent to its intended recipient. Drafted in expensive-looking ink, the letter is written on fancy fireproof parchment. The handwriting is pristine. I like to imagine it's fireproof, just in case Freya burns it. Actually, wait, is it because of the whole, like, Marcello throwing the letters into the fire or whatever? So, like, what if Freya throws it into the fireplace? That's kind of funny. I don't know if that's the reason, but that would be funny if it was the reason. Is TV Girl copyrighted or something? Yeah, I'm pretty sure TV Girl is copyrighted music. But if it's like a short clip, it's okay. The handwriting is pristine up until the end paragraphs where it devolves. Upon closer inspection, the parchment is warped, the edges are charred, and at the bottom of the page, surrounded by furious scribbles and ink splatter, there are tear stains. This letter didn't want to be found. Lady Freya, first and foremost, I would like to extend my dearest apologies. My deepest apologies. I have come to understand that while considered formal on my home planet, writing is considered a less sincere form of communication here, so I hope you can excuse my impoliteness. My heart bleeds for you. I hope you can believe truth lies in those words. I also hope you can believe that I, as well as many other Silesians, have a deeply intimate understanding of loss. I have lost everything I once held dear to me, and it is my understanding that we are surrounded by people who have lost their everything as well. This, I say not to downplay your suffering, but rather to reassure you that your pain is understood. Your tears flow into every river across this planet, and as such, your people can feel the grief pouring out of you. This is such a good point of, like, that I don't think a lot of people, like, even if they understand it, they don't, like, haven't written about it, is that Freya didn't experience, everyone lost, who had lived the Great Anomaly, lost 90% of people that they knew. And Freya didn't experience that loss. This is the first time that she's experienced loss. And so she's finally getting just a taste of the suffering that everyone else has already been dealing with for the past 6 years. The Lomarin Friends thing, so okay. I haven't retconned it, like, I just kind of don't talk about it, but, Lomarin can't be grabbed by the Great Anomaly thing. So, I had a terrible idea that they actually just, like, happened to leave, because Freya had no concept of time. They left her, like, so long ago. Or she just got separated by them from somehow. But she assumed that because Marcel and the rest, you know, left, people disappeared, she's like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. So, I don't know if she'll ever realize that, like, they just left her. It wasn't because of the Great Anomaly or anything. But she was too dumb for them. The thing is, Freya, like, I assume that a lot of other Lumeran go, like, part of their nature is to go, like, eat planets, make things, whatever, and, like, she was so terrified of hurting people that she never really went around eating planets and stuff. 'Cause she's like, what if I accidentally hurt someone? But I assume the other Lumeran, like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is, you know, who we are. But I don't know. I haven't decided what happened there. I've thought of, like, writing some of her backstory of her life before Solace. But like she says, even though she's lived for billions of years, her life started on Solace. It got interesting. Freya Ugly Duckling. Yeah. Imagine she accidentally ate them. That would be insane. No way that she's powerful enough unless they didn't eat anything. Anyway, but yeah, her friends probably just abandoned her. But she doesn't know it. So she's like, oh my gosh, they were taken. Anyway. But yeah, she's never experienced loss in the same way. It was like, oh no, they're gone. Where'd they go? That's so sad. I only feel a little bad for the rest of this letter. You shouldn't feel any bad. Anyway. Let them help you. Let them be there for you. Let them carry you when you cannot do so yourself. This is the most important thing that you can do. I am also intimately familiar with what it feels like to take a person's life. The guilt will be overridden by an incredibly satisfying feeling of revenge for you, and then further overtaken by overwhelming grief. I was not extended the luxury of satisfaction, unfortunately, but the grief hung heavy over me. Some wounds do not heal with time, and I am not one to sugarcoat things. This wound of yours will remain fresh for many, many years. It may never fully heal. The hole inside you left behind will never quite be filled. Yet, it is our scars that make us who we are. Every crack, chip, and hole in our armor molds us into different new people, and it is up to us to decide whether that future holds hope or corruption. However, I did not write this letter with the intention to comfort, so forgive my ramblings. Instead, I wanted to apologize specifically for my absence at Marcello's funeral. Let it be known I had every intention of attending. It pained me to see such a wave of sorrow lay over the people of Solace, and as someone who was once a leader myself, I wanted to offer my support to you and your people, but I could not bear it. Not the sorrow, the anger. When I learned of Eclipse's demise, a deep-seated anger began to burst from within the very depths of my soul. I could not contain myself, despite knowing my feelings were not only selfish, but unproductive. These sorts of emotions are unbecoming of a Tenko like myself, and as such, I attempted to bury them. My attendance at the funeral was meant to help soothe me, in a twisted way. I believed that seeing you and connecting with the pain you felt would melt away my anger. Yet as I pondered this, I grew angrier yet. I never could forgive you for failing my brother. I couldn't forgive myself for not being there to protect him. I could not bear to sit among the people who forgot about my brother's death as soon as someone they cared about more was hurt in the crossfire. Greater still, my anger was directed at you. How could I ever forgive you for robbing me of revenge, of the last thing that could quell my sorrow, of one last chance at redemption? I couldn't. In the end, it felt incredibly selfish of me to attend only to make myself feel better, so I did not. I hope you can... I cannot forgive you, Freya. I just can't. Each passing day, the holes inside me decay, eating away at me. I can hardly remember the person I used to be, before the great anomaly, before the war, before I became a Tenko. Even as a being holding higher power myself, I cannot understand. Why? Why not use your incredible gods-given powers before now? Why not reform the planet until you found her? Reform the planet until you found her. Who cares how many people die if Eclipse will just kill more? What is a planet worth to you, Lumeran, who live to see stars die and be reborn, all in a destructive yet beautiful cycle? What is one person's life worth to you? Nothing, yet everything at the same time. Those people are insignificant compared to you, compared to me, compared to us. But when your favorite toy was broken, you decided to bend the rules. Why couldn't you stop her earlier? Why couldn't my brother have stopped her earlier? Why did your God's forsaken planet do to him? Sorry, what did your God's forsaken planet do to him? How could I attend the funeral and look at Marcello's body when the shreds of my brother were all that I had left to burn? I hate you. The rest of the paragraph is written in a language you do not understand, slowly degrading into meaningless scribbles. The letter is not signed, but whoever wrote it must have very complicated feelings about Freya. Surely this letter meant nothing and will have no lasting consequences. Surely not. I am open to have Freya get crashed out again. Although I will say, she's gonna. I don't know if you saw what happened with Truffle, but yeah, Ross. I think I may have said this before, but I feel like you are one of the few people who just like really understand your character so well, and like the consequences, like emotional, even physical, whatever consequences of things that happen around in the world on your character so well. A lot of people have trouble with like, oh well, this character that I like, something happened to them or whatever, and so I feel this certain way. I feel happy about it. I feel sad about it, whatever. So therefore my character feels this way about it, the same. But you, like, this is so, it's such a complicated mix of emotions, and you have displayed that so well in this letter. Really good job. You understand your character very well. I have a lot of stuff planned with Ada, a lot of stuff about the Casimirs I still haven't revealed. I'm excited. I am very excited. If you ever need Ada to crash out at anyone, go ahead. Alright. From Feather, haunting mistake, little work in progress of what's to come. Sorry, I'm too sick to draw more. Let's slow this down. Oh, it's Frog and... Is that Frog and Feather? It's like memories. What is this? So sad. I love the like watercolor look of it. It really makes it feel like a memory. That's so sad. Their frog skin. Oh. That's so sad. I hope you feel better, Feather. What the hell is this? Peep Keepers. Peep Keepers. Oh my god. It's Marshmallow. It's Marshmallow. Oh my god. Peep Cam. Peepa. Peepers. Peepia. Peep it. Maybe it's just Pam. Peeps. This is so Peep. The true ending. Yeah. Peep Keepers. Peep Cinema. Oh, this is great. I need all of Comet's art as a poster on my wall. I need Peep Keepers as my background. Peep Keepers. Please put that in the like background, like this. Please put it in that channel. The freaking, what's it called? Art for BRB screen. I want Peep Keepers in there. Peepor. Peepor. I need to make a Marshmallow and Peepa. Peepia. Okay. I don't think there are any lore sheets. Yeah, that's from a while ago. Alright. I predicted 4 hours. We just hit under 4 hours. My voice is dead if you couldn't hear it. I'm just getting lower and lower the longer we go. This Sunday we have a very important faction meeting. I recommend you attend it. It's gonna be the last, like, I mean, planned. It's not like a big event, but like it's an important lore thing. Yeah, I would be there for that if you like freaking out and yelling. I can't think of anything else. The season ends April 4. Oh, well, there's Mira's wedding, which is also a big important thing. That's on the 28th. Where's Hello Go Squish? Oh, I need Peep Clips. We need a Peep Clips and then like a, you know when you put peeps in a microwave and they go like, that's Eclipse. that's so funny. I'm so funny. I crack myself up. For those of you who want me to keep writing the AU, I'm working on it. I might skip ahead. I don't know. I just don't want to write the like getting married. I struggle with romance, man, because it feels like I'm just writing total fan service for myself. Thank you for liking my train wreck eldest daughter who crashes out 24/7. That's probably why I like it so much, because I'm a train wreck eldest daughter who crashes out 24/7. I relate. Okay. Have a peep night. Peep yourself safe. Peep yourself. Mira and Dante are their sources of happiness. Let's go. Good. Good night, everyone.